Chapter 689, Tian Level Skills. The crowd felt a bit overwhelmed after leaving the cultivator of the Zun Qi layer. In so few words, the cultivator of the Zun Qi layer had taught them so many things. They hadn't talked a lot, but they had learnt a lot about cultivation. They had understood so much more about the Tian Qi layer. They were filled with ardor. They wanted to master intent and break through to the Tian Qi layer. They were eager to understand the abstruse significance, a mysterious dimension of cultivation. But they were extremely far away from becoming Zun cultivators. Now they had the occasion to enter the palace of the emperors. They might find some intent crystals or even greater treasures. That world had existed for thousands of years already. Zun cultivators were the protectors and Tian cultivators were the slaves. Nobody would believe it if someone said that there was no treasure there. Even a cultivator of the Zun Qi layer could go insane for such treasures. But for them, Zun cultivation was a pipe dream. Bei Ming was still in the courtyard watching as the silhouettes came out. He smiled. You must have learnt many things with him. Now let me ask you, who wants to join Shengong? We would be happy to welcome you. The crowd was caught off guard. Apart from Lin Feng, the others were all excited. It seemed like they needed a special environment to become stronger. I do, someone said. So do I, said someone else. Apart from Lin Feng and his friends, the others were all willing to join Shengong. They had all changed their minds. Bei Ming smiled resplendently when he saw them, but as before he was looking at Lin Feng and Jun Mo Shi. He had hoped that the two of them would join Shengong. But Lin Feng looked calm and serene, not at all enthusiastic. Lin Feng, Jun Mo Shi, Tang Yu, Yun Fei Yang, Qing Meng Xian. Are you considering joining us? Asked Bei Ming. Thank you for showing so much respect, but I have another title. I am already the patriarch of a sect. How could I join another sphere of influence? Said Lin Feng, refusing again. Bei Ming had not realized Lin Feng was already the patriarch of a sect. Jun Mo Shi and the others also refused. They were not interested. All right. I will not try to persuade you since you're not interested. Now, follow me everyone. Bei Ming sighed and shook his head. He brought them up into the air again. After traveling for a short bit, they arrived in front of a palace which reached the clouds. It was there that Bei Ming brought the crowd back to the ground. That palace looked calm and peaceful. It had a gigantic door that they entered and saw an incredible quantity of shoes. There were several people silently looking at some ancient books inside. Cloud Hand, Free Fast Sword, Celestial Energy. Lin Feng looked at the different books and was drooling. There were so many skills. Extremely powerful skills. The lowest skills here are D-level skills of higher quality. It is the place where people of Shengong came to learn skills. You may not take the books away, the skills have to be learnt by heart. Otherwise there are no limits, said Bei Ming. Everybody frowned. D-level skills of higher quality. That was already incredible for them. Only people of Shengong could read them though. That was one of the advantages of being part of a sphere of influence. Being born in such an environment was incredible though. With identical natural abilities, there was a huge difference between someone who had grown up there and someone who had relied on themselves to become stronger like they had. I was lucky in the past. I obtained some D-level skills of lower quality, or even Ba Dao did. Now, I can even choose amongst D-level skills of higher quality, thought Lin Feng while smiling wryly and shaking his head. The others were quite excited though. They wouldn't lack skills in the future. They would even be able to practice several skills at the same time. In such a huge palace, there were billions of skills and they would be able to choose any of them. Lin Feng, you finished first at the great competition of Shuaiyu, so Shengong will offer you a present. If you accept to join Shengong, we will allow you to go to the second floor of the palace and choose some Tian level skills and techniques. But if you don't, I can't allow you to choose yourself. If you tell me what you want to study and what kind of skill, I will get it for you. Tian level skills. The crowd was jealous looking at Lin Feng. If Lin Feng accepted to join Shingang, he would obtain some Tian level skills. Unfortunately, he kept refusing their offer over and over again. Even if Lin Feng refused, the others wouldn't get such an opportunity. Tian level skills, whispered Lin Feng. He didn't need skills though. He already had the cosmic burning sun skill, he also knew techniques and other magical powers. The 9000 rotation Haruka strength skill, some sword skills and techniques. He had defensive and offensive skills. His skills weren't weaker than Tian level skills. Lin Feng, I would like to remind you that Tian level skills already contain intense strength. If you can understand intent, you can choose a sword skill, sword formula, said Bei Ming. Sword formula, Lin Feng shook his head. He had a bloodthirsty sword and level 5 sword intent. He also had the sword of the arid and empty area. Those were enough already, he didn't need more. I need an agility technique. I need to be able to use wind intent, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng lacked agility techniques, he hadn't been able to match others in terms of speed during the competition. He needed an agility technique, alright. I will help you find one, said Bei Ming nodding. He then took out a jade key with the number 5 on it. He put it in a multicolored door and opened it. Then Bei Ming disappeared. What a mysterious place, thought the crowd. They were wondering what kind of technique Bei Ming was going to take. Unfortunately, Jun Mo she didn't feel like joining Shingang either. Otherwise, he would have chosen some skills too. After a short time, Bei Ming came back with a piece of jade in his hand. It was memory jade. Lin Feng, that is a Tian level technique of lower quality. It is 9 days wind chi. It helps you understand wind intent. Take it, said Bei Ming. Lin Feng looked at it and put it away. Bei Ming was sad, Lin Feng wasn't joining Shingang but he was obtaining the technique. What a pity. Jun Mo Shi and Tang Yu, if you join Shingang you will also get Tian level skills. But, unfortunately you keep refusing. You can take some D level skills for yourselves and up to 5. I will send some people to Dragon Mountain by the way. Thank you, you are kind. But I don't need any presents though, said Jun Mo Shi shaking his head. He was satisfied with what he had. Tian level skills were attractive but nothing less. D level skills were precious but not to him. Tang Yu and Qing Meng Xan didn't take anything either. They didn't also felt the same. Yun Fei Yang didn't refuse though and took 5 skills. Leader, I want to leave and go to the palace of the emperors. Alright, take your things, said Bei Ming waving. The crowd then took a jade stone that he was handing out. Then he said, in that stone is a map for you to find where the palace of the emperors is. You all have 3 months to arrive. Alright, nodded Lin Feng and the others. They all looked at each other. They were becoming strong cultivators and Shingang wanted to use them, Shingang had no doubts about them. Chapter 690, Wrath. Bei Ming accompanied them as they left. After all, he was the leader of Shingang North. Don't forget, 3 months later we will see each other again, said Bei Ming to Lin Feng and the others. Everybody smiled. Amongst those 5, the weakest were Yun Fei Yang and Qing Meng Xian, but their future was still going to be incredible. They would probably become incredible geniuses in a time frame of 10 years. Of course, only if they left Xueyu. Lin Feng and the others, however, would have to leave Xueyu. Leader, don't worry about walking us out, said Lin Feng. Bei Ming nodded, he had been extremely good to them already. He was the leader of Shingang North and had given them face the entire time. Besides, being the leader of Shingang North meant that he was already an incredible cultivator, he wasn't an ordinary cultivator of the Tian Qi layer. Alright, said Bei Ming nodding. He then turned around and moved back into the palace. Xue Wuchang also nodded to them and said, Lin Feng, I really look forward to seeing you again. I do as well, I hope you will remember me, said Qing Chan, smiling at Lin Feng. She looked a bit sad, almost sick at heart. Mr. Shui, Qing Chan, I will remember you, said Lin Feng with an honest smile. He also looked kind-hearted, but things had to change. This time Jun Mo Shi, Tang Yu Yu, Shui Wu Chang and so on. Lin Feng's head was filled with beautiful memories. Let's go, said Shui Wu Chang. Then he and Qing Chan went back into Shingong. Life was filled with surprises. We are the only ones left, said Lin Feng to Jun Mo Shi and the others. Everyone else had all joined Shingong, even Yu Tianming. Maybe Yu Tianming would become even stronger there. Indeed, we are the only ones left. Let's go, said Jun Mo Shi smiling. It's a good thing that you have to cross Dragon Mountain on your way back to Shuiyu. We can chat together on the way back. Did your parents go back? Asked Lin Feng. Jun Mo Shi nodded and said, they left when we were in Shingong. Let's go to the fighting stage, some people are waiting for us there, said Jun Mo Shi smiling. Then they rose up in the air and flew towards the fighting stage of Shuiyu. There weren't many things left on that stage, everything looked destroyed or broken. Lin Feng's sword had left so many marks inside. Around the fighting stage were still some people, they looked like they were still recalling the events of the great competition of Shuiyu. They shivered when they saw Lin Feng and the others come back. Lin Feng, Jun Mo Shi. It seems like they have decided not to join Shingong, thought the crowd. They were a bit surprised. Dragon Mountain had seen 6 of its geniuses obtain excellent rankings. 3 of them were in the top 5. Lin Feng had finished first and Jun Mo Shi had 4th, and they were such good friends now. Your Excellency, said some people from Dragon Mountain. Lin Feng looked in the air and saw a ferocious, wild beast there. Someone was chasing that beast. You won't escape, animal, threatened someone while smiling. That animal was a ferocious, ancient animal. Roar. The winged tiger roared when it saw Lin Feng, it seemed furious. Lin Feng had come so Wu Qing couldn't stop him anymore. He didn't dare. How audacious, shouted Lin Feng furiously, a cloud of dust rose up along with Lin Feng. Roar. The winged tiger was furious as it lowered its head. Lin Feng immediately landed on its body and the winged tiger calmed down. The one chasing the winged tiger had stopped, he started shaking out of fear. Lin Feng. He had seen Lin Feng win the competition and knew how terrifying Lin Feng was. He had even been able to defeat Duan Wu Dao and Di Ling. When he saw how docile they became, he realized that it must have been Lin Feng's. Get lost, shouted Lin Feng. Roar. The winged tiger chased that person. It seemed like he was still furious, but then he realized how strong Lin Feng was. That young man was becoming even more terrified. Lin Feng looked calm and serene, surprisingly. Of course, the winged tiger was also proud of Lin Feng. Lin Feng moved back to the fighting stage of Shuiyu. Jun Mo Shi smiled and jumped onto the back of the winged two. Xiaoya, Han Man, Pa Jun, hop on as well, shouted Lin Feng. All of them jumped on the winged tiger. And then they dived into the clouds. Everybody raised their heads to watch the silhouettes leave. Those geniuses were leaving, and the other geniuses had already left for different places. Some of them had joined the East Sea Dragon Palace, some the Jade Heaven Imperial family, some the Nine Cloud Swords sect, and the rest to Shingong. In the air, clouds were rolling. The winged tiger was clapping its wings as it flew towards Dragon Mountain. Jun Mo Shi looked to Tang Yu Yu and said, we succeeded this time, Dragon Mountain succeeded. We have the best winning statistics. Yu Yu, let's take out some alcohol to celebrate. I can't waste the alcohol, said Tang Yu Yu smiling. Then she started taking out a massive amount of bottles. Jun Mo Shi and the others each grabbed a bottle or two smiling. Han Man, Pa Jun, I want to warn you that those are fine liquors. Let's drink together, said Lin Feng, passing them bottles as well. The liquors of the Tang clan were precious. Han Man and took a bottle with his eyes twinkling. He immediately opened it and tried it. Good stuff, bro. I've never had the occasion to drink alcohol in the army, said Han Man, sounding a bit saddened. He had a hard life in Duanren City. How is the army? How is Uncle Lu? Is he all right? Asked Lin Feng, frowning. He was wondering how people in Duanren City were doing. Very difficult, said Han Man, shaking his head. We fought against MOU for a long time and then we withdrew troops. We suffered too many losses. We stopped fighting at the Duanren border so we could defend the northwest. The country of Lai Yun had intervened and wanted to steal Duanren City. We lack good fighters because what happened at the Duanren border. Every day is a bloodbath. The most terrifying fact is that we are dispirited. Shuiyu doesn't help us, we have no food, no medicine, no weapons. We have nothing. We have been abandoned to the enemies, we are at the mercy of two countries. Said Han Man, sounding desperate. His eye had become bloodshot when he spoke of his misfortunes. We are Shuiyu troops. If you hadn't been there, Lin Feng, we would have died last time. Shuiyu wouldn't have helped us. How could we still hope for help, said Pejun mockingly. He didn't understand why they let people die in Duanren City. A bloodbath, troops dying every day. But the monarch didn't care, as if their lives didn't count. Lin Feng was furious when he heard him. He took another sip of alcohol and said, when we're back in Shuiyu, I will put an end to it. All right. Han Man's eyes gleamed with hope. With Lin Feng's strength, the troops would become motivated, and to back them up was Pejun and Xiaoya. They would be pleasantly surprised. The winner of the great competition of Shuiyu, he who despised the high officials and even the crown prince Duan Wudao, was coming back a hero. Chapter 691, Dazzling Lights. There was a group of people arriving from the sky in the imperial city of Dragon Mountain. They were very high up and were wearing imperial changpaos. The leader was wearing a dragon robe and looked particularly domineering and imposing with his warlord Qi. That person was a respectable cultivator in Dragon Mountain and was returning from Micheng. He was the emperor of Dragon Mountain, Jun Mo Shi's father. There were several people from the imperial city following him as well. There was also a group of people of the Tang clan on their right, and a group of people from the Cosmic Pavilion on their left. They were all gazing into the distance as if they had seen someone coming back. Previously, they had heard the news that 6 people from Dragon Mountain had finished in the top 16 at the great competition of Shuiyu. According to the rumors, 3 people from Dragon Mountain, including Jun Mo Shi, had finished in the top 5. Jun Mo Shi had finished 4th. Dragon Mountain had been the most dazzling empire of that year's great competition. There was a huge crowd forming below. They were trying to guess who had finished first at the competition. What are your thoughts, Shi Yun? Asked a middle-aged man to a young and beautiful girl. Shi Yun shook her head and smiled. Shi Yun, said a young man again. He smiled and said, my brother will come back soon, even though he didn't finish the great competition of Shui. He was able to dazzle and his cultivation level is now incredible. When he comes back, I will propose the Hua clan a marriage alliance. My clan will support me. I'm not interested, said Hua Shiyun indifferently. This made the young man very angry. Wu Xian, Shiyun is not interested in a relationship. I am honored that you're interested in her, but don't mention such things again, said Hua Jiuyang, frowning. That young man had neither learning nor skill and was just a pervert. He wasn't as good as Shiyun, she deserved much better than that. Besides, with what happened last time, Hua Jiuyang wasn't going to force his daughter to get married anymore. If she wasn't interested, then she wasn't interested and he would respect her choice. Cui Wu Xian was trying to get a girlfriend using his brother's name, Cui Wu Ming. Hua Jiuyang, Cui Wu Xian already gave you face, don't make me lose face now. Wait until my brother comes back, then you will see that you don't have a choice, said Cui Wu Xian, groaning coldly. Hua Jiuyang pulled a long face, what a bastard. That guy was incompetent and was trying to use his brother's name and influence, seeing how Cui Wuming was coming back. They arrived. It seems like they arrived, said several people suddenly. They were gasping with amazement while gazing into the distance. There were so many beasts, it really seemed like they had come back. All right, my brother came back, said Cui Wu Xian, smiling coldly and glancing at Hu Jiuyang and Hu Shiyun. He hoped that he could rely on his brother and clan to dazzle because he was so incompetent. Then he would get what he wanted, such as Shiyun. Hu Jiuyang and Hu Shiyun were also gazing into the distance. That group of people in the sky was getting nearer and nearer. Beasts from Dragon Mountain. The candidates from the great competition of Shuaiyu came back. People were intrigued and staring as they arrived. Someone noticed one person in particular, Jun Mo Shi. Jun Mo Shi, the best cultivator of Dragon Mountain, is back. What did he finish as? He must have been an extremely dazzling cultivator. There was also Tang Yuyu, Qing Meng Xian, Cui Wuming, Ling Shui. They had all gone to the great competition of Shuaiyu. There was also another young man. He was sitting on an ancient, ferocious, wild beast and was wearing white clothes. He looked majestic, but they had never seen him. That ferocious, ancient animal was extremely rare, it was a winged tiger. However, Hu Shiyun and Hu Jiuyang were astonished to see him, especially Shiyun, who started trembling. It's Lin Feng, it's really Lin Feng. He hasn't died, he's still alive. Lin Feng is still alive and has even participated at the great competition of Shuaiyu. Shiyun's eyes were twinkling and her thoughts were moving quickly in her head. She nibbled her lips and turned red, she had bit her lips so hard that some blood appeared. He was moving in the wind very quickly. In a flash, the crowd arrived in front of the people from Dragon Mountain. Jun Mo Shi, Yu Yu, Meng Xing. Those three names were resonating together. They looked proud. Dragon Mountain managed to steal 3 places without counting the countries under its jurisdiction. Then there were 13 other countries to count on. Those young people looked matured. Besides, their chi had completely changed. They must have gone through incredible things at that great competition of Shuaiyu. They had faced death, they had kept fighting against their own selves, they had challenged their other incredible geniuses. They had become stronger faster than anyone else could have. Alright, not bad this time. Dragon Mountain finished with 6 people in the top 10 and 4 people in the top 6. We have 3 people in the top 4. And the champion of the competition comes from a country under our jurisdiction. This time, you made our empire dazzle, you are the glory of our empire, said the emperor, receiving them with a resplendent smile. The crowd was astonished. How incredible, the champion of the competition came from a country under their jurisdiction. They looked at the crowd in the sky, everybody had thought that Jun Mo Shi would finish first. It had to be him, right? Qing Meng Xian from the Cosmic Pavilion, 10th. You are a dazzling cultivator in Dragon Mountain, thank you, said the emperor, bowing in front of Qing Meng Xian. Everybody was astonished, he was so respectful to those glorious champions. He was even thanking them. Emperor, everybody raised their heads and looked at him in a respectful way, they felt moved. Yun Fei Yang, I don't know where you're from, Shuaiyu, Tian Feng or Dragon Empire. But in any case, you made our empire dazzle because you finished 8th. Congratulations. Thank you. The crowd also looked at Yun Fei Yang, he had astonished them back then before the competition had even started. They had had the impression that Yun Fei Yang was a bit too weak back then, they had never thought that he would end up amongst the most incredible geniuses at the competition. Surprisingly, he had finished 8th. How incredible! Tang Yuyu of the Tang clan, you finished 6th. Congratulations and thank you, said the emperor as nicely and respectfully as before. Tang Yuyu had surprisingly finished 6th. How strong! Qing Meng Xian and Tang Yuyu definitely deserved to be called the strongest women of the country. Not to mention, they were both extremely beautiful. Jun Mo Shi of the Imperial City clan of Dragon Mountain, you finished fourth. You are a dazzling cultivator, you are the Prince of Dragon Mountain, said the Emperor, making the crowd shiver. Jun Mo Shi was the prince. They knew that, but he had finished fourth. The Emperor had said that 3 people from Dragon Mountain had finished in the top 4. Who were the 2 others then? The second champion of the great competition of Shuiyu is Duan Wu Dao, Prince of Shuiyu. He hasn't come, but I would still like to thank him as well. Duan Wu Dao was the Prince of Shuiyu and had finished second. The second was from Shuiyu. Who was the first one then? They were all glancing at the crowd, they were eager to know who the first one was. Who was the most dazzling cultivator of Shuiyu? Chapter 692, Gathering. The Emperor slowly turned around and looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng from Shuiyu, you finished at the very top of the rankings, you are the most dazzling young cultivator of Shuiyu. You are the pride of our empire, Dragon Mountain. Thanks to you we are stronger than any other empire in Shuiyu. Thank you, said the Emperor, bowing in front of Lin Feng. Lin Feng was the champion of the competition. Lin Feng. The crowd was astonished. The first one was Lin Feng. They looked at Lin Feng in the sky and had the impression that they were dreaming. They would have never thought that Lin Feng would finish first. Who had? Lin Feng, you are the Qi Xie Marquis of Shuiyu and I am the Emperor of Dragon Mountain. From now on, I grant you the title of Qi Xie, King of Dragon Mountain, and I also grant you the title of Ruler of Shuiyu. I will send people to Shuiyu with you and they will declare those things to the public. From now, you don't need to pay tributes to the imperial family of Shuiyu. You and the King of Shuiyu are on equal footing, said the Emperor. He was attributing a special title to Lin Feng and making him a noble in the entire empire. Lin Feng had refused to join the 9 Cloud Swords sect. The Emperor was very happy, so he granted a special title to Lin Feng. He respected Lin Feng. Shuiyu was a country under the jurisdiction of Dragon Mountain, so the Emperor held the utmost power. Even though he didn't get involved in Shuiyu's affairs, he could still grant Lin Feng a special title in Shuiyu. That was a way to protect Lin Feng from everybody else. Nobody could give him any order in Shuiyu, not even the king. Thank you, said Lin Feng. He was now the ruler of Shuiyu. Not bad. Just a typical Tuesday for our Lin Feng. The crowd was shivering. Lin Feng had become the ruler of Shuiyu. His status was the same as that of the king of Shuiyu. Ruler, whispered Hu Shiyun. That young man was farther and farther from her. All right, come down everybody, don't be shy, said the Emperor. He didn't look as solemn and respectful as a moment before, he looked friendly now. At the same time, he jumped towards Lin Feng and said, Lin Feng, what do you intend to do now? I am going to go back to Shuiyu, said Lin Feng. He hadn't gone back for such a long time, his family and everybody else were probably very worried. All right, I will send Lan Shan with you, said the Emperor. He then turned back to Lan Shan and said, Lan Shan, the mission is yours. No problem, said Lan Shan, nodding. He then looked at Lin Feng and said, Congratulations. Mister, you brought me to Dragon Mountain, thank you, said Lin Feng extremely politely. Don't call me Mister anymore, please. I don't deserve it. You are so strong. Keep up the good work. Jian Chen came back to Dragon Mountain after the competition and is still practicing cultivation. You will all have an incredible future. Lan Shan obeyed to the Emperor. Lin Feng was the most dazzling cultivator at the competition, so the Emperor wanted everything to be perfect for him. You're going back? Asked Tang Yuyu. Yes, said Lin Feng, nodding. Oh, Tang Yuyu forced herself to smile, she was sad. Then she added, Take care. You too. We will see each other in 3 months. So you're not going to stay with us, instead you're abandoning us, said Qing Meng Xian, smiling. She was crossing her arms on her chest. Abandoning? Lin Feng smiled wryly and said, I left Shuiyu a long time ago, I must go back. We will see each other in 3 months, all right? You might not pay attention to me anymore then, joked Qing Meng Xian. Lin Feng smiled wryly and said, don't worry, I will never forget such a beautiful woman. Hee hee, you know how to make girl happy, said Qing Meng Xian in a seducing way. Behind them was Tang Yuyu's father and Qing Meng Xian's teacher, but they didn't immediately bother them when they saw that they were talking to Lin Feng. Tang Yuyu's father had never seen his daughter act so friendly to anyone. Besides, Qing Meng Xian was usually so seductive, no men could resist her. But now Lin Feng could, and Qing Meng Xian was his friend. She was friends with the great champion of the great competition of Shuiyu. Lin Feng wasn't weak at all. Lin Feng, if you have the opportunity, come back to us, said Jun Mo Shi. The crowd was stupefied, they hadn't thought that all those geniuses would be such good friends, how incredible. I will come for a walk if I have the time, said Lin Feng. He was sad to leave too. He wasn't insensitive, they had gone through so much together. Get lost, said someone at that moment. It was a familiar voice that resonated in Lin Feng's ears. He turned his head and saw someone, a man was trying to force a girl to hug him. Hu assure you, don't force me to be even more violent, said Cui Wu Xian coldly. You're done, said Hu assure Yun to Cui Wu Xian. Cui Wu Xian was surprised and retorted, while smiling, I'm done. How could you say that? Are you dreaming? My brother is here, how could anything happen? I'm here. Cui Wu Xian turned around, saw Silhouette land next to him. He was even more surprised. Lin Feng was stronger than his brother Cui Wu Ming. Lin Feng. Cui Wu Ming stuttered. In the past Lin Feng couldn't rival with him, but now he could only look up at him. Is he your real brother? Asked Lin Feng, pointing at Cui Wu Xian. No, he's not, said Cui Wu Ming shaking his head. Get lost, said Lin Feng. Cui Wu Ming had no words. Lin Feng, I'm taking Cui Wu Xian away, so forget about what happened. No, said Lin Feng coldly. He then looked at Hu Shiyun and said, what do you want me to do to him? You decide, said Hu Shiyun while staring at Lin Feng, as if she had forgotten about Cui Wu Xian. In the past Lin Feng had left and she never heard about him again. Kacha. Suddenly a dazzling light that looked like a sun appeared on Cui Wu Xian's body. 9 Sun Skill, are you a member of the Hua clan? Asked Cui Wu Ming. He didn't understand. Shi Yun is my little sister. How could I not kill him? Said Lin Feng to Cui Wu Ming, he hadn't realized. He then lowered his head and said, you're right. You understand, that's all that matters, said Lin Feng coldly. Immediately after he rose up in the air. Hua Shiyun was surprised. She looked at Lin Feng leaving again. Some tears appeared in her eyes, little sister. Jun Mo Shi, help me take care of my little sister. Hua Shiyun looked at Lin Feng and Jun Mo Shi. Jun Mo Shi nodded, but Hua Shiyun seemed like she heard nothing, she just blankly stared at them. Then Lin Feng left on his beast, moving so fast that whistling sounds spread in the air. Lin Feng had appeared so abruptly and had disappeared again so abruptly. Hua Jiuyang sighed, life was intriguing sometimes. Lin Feng had helped them once again, he had helped Hua Shiyun once again, and he made her cry once again. Many people were watching Lin Feng leave. I have some things to do too. We'll see each other in 3 months, said someone at that moment. Yun Fei Yang then jumped onto a ferocious, wild beast and left. Nobody knew where he was going. Chapter 693, Tian Qi Layer battles. Lin Feng was on his beast with 3 other people, Han Man, Pajun and Xiaoya. Lin Feng, said a voice from far away in the distance. Lin Feng stopped, turned his head around and saw a beautiful girl chasing him. He then asked, Yu, what's wrong? My father told me to offer you this alcohol, said Tang Yu smiling. She stretched her arm and a ring appeared in Lin Feng's hand. Thank you for thinking about me, said Lin Feng to Tang Yu. Her father had told her to come. Improbable, her father didn't know that Lin Feng loved that alcohol. "I'm off," said Lin Feng smiling. "Oh, all right. Take care and be careful," said Tang Yu nodding. Whistling sound started again. In a flash, he had disappeared into the horizon. They were flying 1 kilometer up in the sky and Lin Feng had sat down cross-legged. He was looking the jade stone ring that Yu had given to him. There were many bottles of alcohol, especially hot unit. "I love strong alcohol," said Han Man. He really liked hot unit. "Come," said Pejun raising a bottle. Then they drank together and downed a bottle. They all sensed the alcohol burning in their throat. Time seemed to pass faster when they were drunk. Chi Cheong was flying above mountains and rivers, they had already left Dragon Mountain. Lin Feng sobered up as the winds began to blow violently. Han Man and Pejun were lying down on the back of the winged tiger and their faces were red. They had the feeling that they were burning inside. They couldn't drink as much as Lin Feng. "Huh?" Lin Feng frowned and shouted furiously, "Who?" A moment before, he had sensed a hidden energy but it had quickly disappeared again. He was very vigilant suddenly. Human-Earth fusion. The crowd was stupefied. A moment ago, Lin Feng couldn't have had a hallucination. Someone had managed to escape from Lin Feng's perceptions, which meant that the person had fused together with the earth. Or it possibly meant that the person's cultivation level was higher than his. Maybe that person had broken through to the Tian Qi layer and was following him. Hee, that alcohol is not so bad. Following for such a long time was a good idea, said a mysterious voice. A huge cloud then appeared 100 kilometers away, a silhouette emerged out from it. That person's qi was extremely fat and extremely strong. They didn't look beautiful at all, but he was looking at Lin Feng coldly. That person was an enemy, not a friend. "Who are you?" asked Lin Feng, sounding furious. It seemed like that person had been following them for a long time but nobody had noticed them. "I started following you in Mi Cheng, I was in Dragon Mountain with you even, and then I followed you to here." "Can you guess who I am?" asked the strong cultivator, releasing an evil qi and smiling just as evilly. That person didn't look benevolent at all. From Mi Cheng, Lin Feng was stupefied. He had offended so many people in Mi Cheng, for example the Deshu clan, or Yu Mo's teacher or Ling Zhao's teacher. All those strong cultivators were probably furious. "I couldn't kill you there because Mi Cheng is under the control of Shingong. I've been waiting for you to leave Dragon Mountain. You are so strong already, you can die happy." That person slowly took out a blade, that blade looked like blood. It was twinkling with deathly dark lights. A terrifying blade energy rose up in the air and surrounded Lin Feng and his friends. The winged tiger had started shaking, that terrifying blade energy was making them suffocate. "Move back," said Lin Feng to his friends. The winged tiger flew back. He then unsheathed his bloodthirsty sword, he was going to experience the strength of a Tian Qi layer cultivator. "You're audacious. There is a huge difference between the Xian Qi layer and the Tian Qi layer," said that person while cutting the air with their blade. It seemed like death was about to catch Lin Feng. Whistling sounds were spreading in the air and moving towards him, it was filled with a brutal and evil energy. "Sword!" shouted Lin Feng, he couldn't afford being careless now. He used his level 5 sword intent which emitted terrifying whistling sounds in the atmosphere. Hee, level 5 sword intent. You may be better than me, but it is a pity that you have only broken through to the Tian Qi layer. Intent alone doesn't make you stronger than me, said the person coldly. His blade was dancing in the air. A terrifying light then appeared. And that light was moving straight for Lin Feng. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. He then condensed all his level 5 sword intent into his sword. A blood-red light dashed to the skies but it seemed like his sword intent couldn't compete with the blade energy. It seemed like that blade and the blade intent were in fusion with the earth. Sirrr! Sirrr! Even though Lin Feng's intent had reached level 5, the intent deployed by the cultivator of the Tianqi layer could destroy his. Could Lin Feng compete with a cultivator of the Tianqi layer? Even though his intent was extremely powerful, it couldn't draw from the same power. Besides, they were in the air and cultivators of the Xian Qi layer needed to use pure Qi to fly, whereas cultivators of the Tian Qi layer could do it freely without strain. It was the same as walking on the ground for them. It seemed like a subtle difference, but it actually made a huge difference during battle. "Get lost," shouted Lin Feng furiously. Another blood-red light emerged in the air and Lin Feng moved back. Immediately after, Lin Feng saw the blade light descend as gigantic crevice appeared. It was 1 kilometer long and extremely deep. No use. I Shui Tuesday, love killing geniuses. It's one of my greatest passions, said the cultivator with the blade. He continued chasing Lin Feng. Kacha! In the air, thunder was sounding. Blue lightning descended from the sky and then the blade disappeared. Thunderbolt intent, Shui Tu was surprised and then raised his head. He immediately saw a bareback man in the sky who was floating on a sea of thunderbolts. You followed him for such a long time and I also followed you for a long time. Lin Feng will make it to the mystical world. Do you think that because you're out of Shingon you can kill him? You must want to die, said Lei Mang furiously. In his head appeared a gigantic thunderbolt. He looked like a thunder god, brutal and mighty. Shui Tu, in Mi Cheng, you're always crowing like a cock and stealing like a dog. In other words, you always get to mean and petty tricks. You were able to break through to the Tian Qi layer. That's already amazing. Now, get ready to die, said Lei Mang furiously. He then jumped forwards and a gigantic thunder appeared. Terrifying lights and sounds spread in the atmosphere. The entire atmosphere was blue. Thunders kept roaring violently. Shui Tu's face looked hideous. His blade kept dancing in the air. He was able to cut through some thunderbolts, but they seemed infinite as they bombarded the entire sky. A thunder crashed onto Shui Tu's head and blood splashed everywhere. Die! Shouted Lei Mang furiously. His speed was incredible. He had jumped towards Shui Tu. His hands were filled with lightning. Shui Tu was using his blade to resist, but it was difficult because the lightning was stronger. Then several more thunderbolts appeared, and in a flash, Shui Tu's body was entirely black as he fell down in the air. A cultivator of the Tian Qi layer had just died. Lin Feng watched and started shaking. Those thunderbolts were terrifying. Even though they had broken through to the Tian Qi layer, their strength and intent were on completely different levels. Chapter 694. Back home after killing Shui Tu, Lei Mang, who was actually using a thunder staff, put it back on his shoulder. The thunders disappeared as he turned around to face Lin Feng. He seemed to look at him in a friendly manner. Thank you, said Lin Feng nodding. Lin Feng would have died if Lei Mang hadn't helped. Lin Feng was actually wondering what sphere of influence Shui Tu belonged. Why had he chased him for such a long time to kill him? No need, I am just working for Shingon. Since you have accepted to go into the mystical world, Shingon must protect you. There's no need to thank me, said Lei Mang. Lin Feng, please continue your journey. All right. Lin Feng waited until Qi Qiong arrived next to him and sat back on him. Whistling sounds began spreading in the air again. A moment later, in the distance, there were other cultivators of the Tian Qi layer fighting. His heart was furiously beating. Lin Feng had left but Lei Mang stayed behind. He remained in the distance. His consciousness had completely enveloped the entire area. Even a speck of grass or an insect couldn't escape him. Once Lin Feng left, Lei Mang said, "You've been chasing us for such a long time, just come out now." After a small period of silence, 2 silhouettes came out. Lin Feng hadn't thought that 4 cultivators of the Tian Qi layer had been following him. 3 of them wanted to kill him. I think you heard what I said earlier, said Lei Mang aggressively. The 2 cultivators of the Tian Qi layer remained silent. A moment before they had seen everything. Lei Mang was extremely strong, he had managed to crush a cultivator of the Tian Qi layer very easily. De Shu Kong, you're the one who sent Xue Tu. Such things will not happen again. After Lin Feng enters the mystical world, you won't be able to kill him anymore. You will see. The two cultivators didn't look resigned to give up. Umo had been killed by Lin Feng, then Miss De Shu had been killed because of Lin Feng too. They were furious. They had come so far to kill Lin Feng, but they hadn't realized that Shen Gong had sent people to protect him. Then it's fine if we don't touch Lin Feng until after he enters the mystical area, said De Shu Kong coldly. What? It doesn't matter, Lin Feng must live. I don't want to see you anymore, said Lei Mang waving. Yumo's teacher and De Shu Kong's eyes were twinkling. They couldn't come out and they could kill Lin Feng before he entered the mystical world. They had to pay attention to those rules. Lin Feng obviously didn't know that two more cultivators of the Tian Qi layer had been following him. After having broken through to the Tian Qi layer, when in fusion with the earth, cultivators didn't release a single iota of qi. Plus they could fly from extreme heights. Lin Feng's cultivation level was inferior to theirs. Even though his senses were extremely acute, he still couldn't sense them. But with Han Man, Pe Jun and Xiaoya, Lin Feng wasn't going to be bored. He could always teach Han Man some cultivation tips. He could also practice his wind skill, there was plenty to do. Finally, some tall buildings began appearing from beneath them. The qi in the atmosphere was familiar, Lin Feng felt like he could finally relax. We've arrived. When Lin Feng saw that place, he smiled resplendently, he looked like a little ray of sunshine. Go down, said Lin Feng, and immediately after the winged tiger nosedived. Under them was the lovesickness forest. People who were walking on the main road of the imperial city were surprised to see such a ferocious, wild beast in the air. It was a red, ancient, ferocious animal. They were flying so fast that the crowd couldn't even follow them with their eyes. What kind of beast is that? Its qi is scary, thought many people watching that red beast in the sky. That qi was a Xian level qi. Besides, that beast looked extremely ferocious. It was a level 3 Xian beast, but it was actually much stronger than ordinary beasts of the same level. It's red like fire, it looks like a winged tiger, whispered some people. Many of the others were surprised when they heard those whispers, a winged tiger. Such a long time had passed, the great competition of Xueyu must be over now. I wonder who won. And I wonder if people from Xueyu took any high rankings. Did Lin Feng come back? I think that was Lin Feng's winged tiger, thought some people in the crowd. Had Lin Feng finished the competition? What was his ranking? What was his cultivation level like? Had he made progress? What about Yu Tianming, Wu Qing, and the others? They were wondering about Lin Feng's ranking and especially about Duan Wu Dao, he was the best of the 8 high officials. Duan Wu Dao was the crown prince, he was extremely violent and aggressive. Had he dazzled? The crowd was eager to know about their rankings. The news hadn't spread in the imperial city of Xueyu yet. The Yu clan had already come back, as well as the Wanshou sect, but nobody had shown themselves. Apart from the 2 geniuses of the Yu clan, there was Wu Qing. They probably hadn't finished amongst the best geniuses at the competition, otherwise their sect and clan wouldn't have hidden away. Lin Feng had no idea that so many people were wondering how he did. He was only thinking about going back to the lovesickness forest. There were several silhouettes in white clothes who immediately rose up in the air and blocked the way the moment when the winged tiger flew over the lovesickness forest. But very quickly, they were all surprised. Master, you came back. I did, said Lin Feng joyfully. He moved forwards and jumped off the back of the winged tiger and onto the ground. He then looked around, he could see and sense everything with his incredible consciousness. He slowly walked forwards in skillful and agile way. He wasn't emitting any sound at all. In the secret area of the lovesickness forest, he could only hear the rustling sounds of the leaves. He then arrived next to a huge tree. In the distance were some familiar huts and lodge cabins. At the foot of one tree with a cabin lodge was a silhouette. That person was carving something. It was a middle-aged man. In the distance, there were two other people, women playing chess. They looked calm and serene. It was a beautiful scene. It seemed like Lin Hai had sensed something. He turned his head and saw Lin Feng. "Little Lin Feng," whispered Lin Hai. Yu Menghe and Meng Qing were shocked. They slowly raised their heads to see an outstanding-looking young man. "Little Lin Feng," whispered Yu Menghe. She immediately stood up. Meng Qing also slowly walked a distance of 100 meters. She stopped not far from Lin Feng. Yu Menghe and Lin Hai were behind and also stopped walking. They looked at each other and giggled. Lin Feng saw those three people and smiled back just as cheery. Meng Qing lowered her head. She looked cute and tender. She then raised her head again. She looked pure and holy. Her smile was moving and touching. Everything around her seemed non-existent, even colorless. "You came back," said Meng Qing. She had always been with Lin Feng since the Blackwing Forest. She had never been away from him until he left for the tournament. She had never thought that her relationship with Lin Feng would be so intense. Chapter 695, Passionate Fusion. The wind was brushing against their skin. It seemed like time had stopped. Lin Feng was smiling. He nodded and said, "Yes, I came back." He slowly walked forwards and grabbed Meng Qing's hand. He looked very calm, serene and peaceful. There was no need for words. He walked towards Lin Hai and Yu Menghe and said, "Father, Mother." Lin Hai and Yu Menghe smiled. They felt gratified. Lin Hai kept nodding and said, "Good, good." Lin Feng had really changed. He didn't look immature anymore. It seemed like he had completely grown up. His thin body looked like a sword. His pitch-black pupils looked deep and mysterious, almost unfathomable or enigmatic. "Little Lin Feng, you must be tired," said Yu Menghe, sounding like a caring and gentle mother. Lin Feng wasn't even 20 years old. No matter how strong her son was, no matter how mature he was, he would always remember her little baby. "Little Lin Feng, how was the competition?" asked Lin Hai. Many times, Yu Menghe had wanted to go to Mi Cheng, but Lin Hai had prevented her from going. Lin Feng had to face his destiny by himself. He had to face death and dangers alone, with his own abilities. "Don't harass him immediately. I will make you some tea." "Little Lin Feng, you need to have a rest," said Yu Menghe, glancing at Lin Hai, who smiled wryly. Men and women were different. "Mother, father, I finished first at the great competition of Shuiyu," said Lin Feng with a magnificent smile on his face. Yu Menghe and Lin Hai turned around and looked at him. First? Lin Hai was shivered. Lin Feng had finished first. Really? Lin Hai couldn't believe it. "Father, have I ever lied to you?" asked Lin Feng. Lin Hai was clenching his fists, emitting some small cracking sounds. He obviously knew what the great competition of Shuiyu was like. There were 13 countries, 4 empires, many geniuses, especially those from other empires. Those geniuses were all incredible and terrifying. He could remember 20 years before, when he had participated at the great competition of Shuiyu. He was very young back then, but he hadn't managed to finish in the top 10 even. Only Duan Renhuan had managed to finish in the top 10, and he had astonished Shuiyu. Since then, everybody knew Duan Renhuang. He had lots of influence in the country. Even though he was not the monarch, Lin Feng used to be called a piece of trash by everybody when he was younger. But now he had finished first at the great competition of Shuiyu. He wasn't the best of Shuiyu, but the best of Shuiyu. He had defeated all the other geniuses. What a dazzling and incredible young man. Uncle, brother defeated everybody. He really finished first. He can now despise everybody, said a clear and melodious voice. A silhouette appeared, and it was a little girl. Lin Hai and Yu Meng suddenly looked cold. Who was that person calling Lin Feng brother? But Lin Hai was even more surprised by Lin Feng's ranking at the competition though. Alright, said Lin Hai at that moment. His face was red, he kept nodding unceasingly. He then asked, Little Lin Feng, tell me how you did it. Lin Hai pushed against Lin Feng's shoulders, seemingly challenging Lin Feng. He just looked at his father in a deep and meaningful way. What are you doing? Asked Yu Menghe glaring at Lin Hai, but she was still smiling in a soft and tender way. Lin Feng had just come back, she was extremely happy. And on top of that Lin Feng had brought such wonderful news back with him. Little Lin Feng, who is that little girl? Mother, some extremely strong people tried to kill me in Dragon Mountain. Her name is Xiaoye and her grandfather saved me. I was about to die, then her grandfather suddenly left as I was healing, so I kept her with me. We call each other brother and little sister, explained Lin Feng. Those are my friends, we met at the Yunhai sect a few years ago, they are Han Man and Pajun. Lin Feng, brother, Pajun and I won't bother you for now. You should spend some time with your family. We're going to get some drinks, said Han Man immediately after. He and Pajun turned around and started leaving. Yu Menghe glanced at the girls in white, there was alcohol in the lovesickness forest. At the same time, Lin Hai and Yu Menghe were calmly listening to Lin Feng, but they knew perfectly well that it had been a terrible and tiring journey for him. He had probably faced terrible dangers. He had finished first, which also meant that he had benefited from great things. He had also fought some battles to death. Brother, is that my sister-in-law? She's so beautiful, she's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, said Xiaoye giggling and looking at Meng Qing. Meng Qing glanced at Xiaoye and smiled. She then glanced at Lin Feng softly. Uncles and aunties, Lin Feng went through incredible hardships. I saw everything and I can tell you everything, said Xiaoye as if she could read Lin Hai and Yu Menghe's thoughts. Alright. Tell us, said Yu Menghe in a gentle way, caressing Xiaoye's head. They liked cute and smart little girls. She looked pure and innocent, how adorable. Little Lin Feng, Meng Qing has been waiting for you for such a long time. Spend some time with her, said Yu Menghe smiling at Lin Feng. Xiaoye also glanced at Lin Feng. She looked even happier than Lin Feng. Lin Feng shook his head and smiled wryly. That little girl. Alright, mother, father, if you need me, just come, said Lin Feng, nodding to his parents. And then he left with Meng Qing. In the middle of the restricted area of the lovesickness forest, there was a simple manor. Inside of that manor were emerald bamboos and with their leaves gently rustling. Lin Feng and Meng Qing arrived in a small courtyard of the manor and lied down on a bamboo bed. The wind was brushing against their skin still. It seemed like breathing was even easier then. Father and mother are really happy here, said Lin Feng smiling. That manor looked like a small and isolated world, there was only the sound of the wind there and nothing else. It had been built especially for Meng Qing. Meng Qing also lied down and looked at the bamboo trees and their leaves. Lin Feng turned his head and looked at Meng Qing's face, which was so close to his. His heart was pounding, she looked pure, holy, and beautiful. She was a part of Lin Feng's world. Lin Feng stretched his hands and caressed her face. He could sense Meng Qing's skin under his fingers, he was going insane. His face turned red, Meng Qing's beautiful eyes were twinkling. She could hear Lin Feng's breathing. Lin Feng kept touching her, he could sense every part of her body and clothes. Then he started touching her with even more ardor, feeling her warmth. Her skin was getting hotter and hotter. Lin Feng could smell her sweet perfume. He was touching her sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. It seemed like he wanted to become one with Meng Qing. He was touching her everywhere. He even caressed her breasts, they were so soft. Meng Qing seemed so fragile at that moment. However, when Lin Feng couldn't resist anymore once he touched her breasts. He needed more, he was trying to remain clear-headed but it was difficult. His blood was boiling. Oh, Meng Qing was moaning, it made Lin Feng feel even hotter, like a beast. Meng Qing slowly closed her eyes and let Lin Feng touch her. She was just enjoying it. She had always considered herself as Lin Feng's woman. As in the past, she still wasn't mature but Lin Feng needed sex so she was willing to abandon her innocence to him because she loved him deeply. Chapter 696, Like a dream in the calm and peaceful bamboo forest, the wind was brushing. The feeling on one's skin was pleasant and refreshing. The bamboo bed in the middle of the forest was emitting some cracking sounds and was swinging. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with ardor and passion. He was kissing Meng Qing passionately, not just her mouth but her entire body. Her body looked so pure and beautiful. She was under Lin Feng at that moment, Lin Feng was on top. Her face was red as Lin Feng's fingers were moving all over her body. Her chest was bouncing, she looked intoxicated. She had no more strength in her body. Even for a strong cultivator, that was a very intriguing yet wonderful feeling. It was enchanting, making love was a wonderful thing, especially with someone you loved. Lin Feng was committing something outrageous but Meng Qing had submitted herself and enjoyed it incredibly. Lin Feng was also enjoying it, he kept kissing Meng Qing's face, her skin, her breasts. He loved every corner of her skin. Lin Feng. Meng Qing moaned and cried out his name. Lin Feng put his head between her breasts. After a long time, Lin Feng raised his head again and looked at Meng Qing. She looked like a goddess, her face was red and incredibly ravishing. Everything seemed so insignificant after seeing such a beautiful woman. She looked like a celestial being. Lin Feng put his hands on Meng Qing's face, she opened her eyes, those eyes were bewitching. The expression in her eyes looked deep and meaningful. Her eyes twinkled more than the stars, they were filled with a profound love for Lin Feng. Meng Qing, said Lin Feng gently. Meng Qing smiled and hugged Lin Feng, he was still on her so she put him aside. They just kept staring at each other in silence. Ah! It was like a dream for them, they were both moaning and sighing. Their sounds kept resonating in the atmosphere of the bamboo forest. They were hugging so tight that it seemed like they had merged together. Their hearts were absolutely connected, their souls were connected. Lin Feng looked at her beautiful smile, she looked extremely delighted. He then kissed her forehead and caressed her body. He was touching her in such a warm and gentle way as if he had been scared to hurt her. His blood was still boiling. Both of them actually felt very hot, they had both forgotten everything that was around them. They both forgot everything, they were just together with each other. The landscape was beautiful, the scene was beautiful, they were both beautiful people. That kind of lust was beautiful too. Far away from the bamboo forest, three silhouettes were sitting. Lin Hai, Yu Menghe and Xiaoye were talking. Xiaoye was telling them Lin Feng's adventures at the great competition of Shuiyu. The parents were calmly listening, not daring to interrupt her. The scene was funny, a middle-aged couple listening to a young girl tell a story, and they were listening to her so seriously. Lin Hai and Yu Menghe were excited, the great competition of Shuiyu was already finished and Lin Feng was the champion. They somehow had the feeling that they were there, observing it. They had the feeling that they were watching their own little boy fighting on the fighting stage at the great competition of Shuiyu. Then he broke the 8 sealed doors using a black fire lotus. Then he used his evil body to attack Duan Wudao, they were both injured then. Duan Wudao's soul was injured while Lin Feng had used all his pure qi. However, Duan Wudao could still fight. He had thought that Lin Feng had lost, but then Lin Feng's 8-headed dragon came out and to swallow Duan Wudao. 8 heads. Out of the 9 heads of the final form, Lin Feng already possessed 8 of them, Lin Hai and Yu Menghe were glancing at each other speechless. Duan Wudao couldn't resist, he used a pill to cure his injuries. However, my grandpa also gave Lin Feng some pure healing pills. Using only one enables a cultivator to refill all their pure qi. Lin Feng used one and then unsheathed a red sword, that looked red like blood. Step by step, his terrifying sword qi was lacerating the atmosphere. And then his sword qi surrounded everybody and we were all suffocating. It also seemed to have hurt Duan Wudao's heart. In the end, Duan Wudao had no more vitality and gave up the fight. He couldn't block Lin Feng's attacks, so he forfeited. That is how Lin Feng finished first. The first one, thought Yu Menghe and Lin Hai. They were extremely proud. They felt like that glory also belonged to them to a certain extent. So many people had despised their son, even at the competition. So many people had been sure that they would defeat him, but in the end he had finished first. He had won, he was a champion. The champion was their son. Lin Feng was a dazzling cultivator and his parents couldn't be more proud of him. Uncle, Auntie, there's more. Many people appeared, and they were all extremely strong cultivators. They had tried to stop the people of Shingong. There were people from the East Sea Dragon Palace. It is said that they are overlords in the East Sea Empire, an empire of medium quality. There was also the Nine Cloud Sword sect, the Jade Heaven Imperial family and the Necropolis sect. They were all cultivators of the Tian Qi layer with only one goal. They wanted Lin Feng to join them. They tempted Lin Feng with Tian level skills and techniques to join them, said Xiaoye, sounding prouder and prouder. She was extremely excited to tell the story. East Sea Dragon Palace. East Sea, Empire of Middle Quality. The Nine Cloud Sword sect, the Heaven Jade Imperial family, the Necropolis sect. They all wanted Lin Feng to join them and had even proposed to give him Tian level skills and techniques. Lin Hai and Yu Menghe were astonished. They were both geniuses in Shuiyu, but they hadn't reached such a level. They were realizing that Lin Feng's future was going to be incredible. They were just realizing that their son had already surpassed them. And what did Lin Feng decide to do? Who is he going to join? Asked Lin Hai. Guess, said Xiaoye, smiling. She was purposely maintaining the suspense. Shingong, guessed Lin Hai. With his temperament, Lin Feng couldn't betray Shingong, after all they had done for him at the competition. Almost. He actually refused everything. He just accepted to do one thing for Shingong. He refused everything. Yu Menghe and Lin Hai sighed. They were shaking their heads and smiling wryly. Their son was extremely strong. What a pity that he was so stubborn. He had refused to join the East Sea Dragon Palace, the Nine Cloud Sword sect, the Jade Heaven Imperial family. He had surprisingly refused all of them. So many geniuses could only dream of joining such incredible spheres of influence. But their son had refused them all because he was stubborn and determined to do everything by his own means. Without his willpower and determination though, Lin Feng would have never become so strong. They were all talking together while the sun was setting. They were all happily chatting about Lin Feng. Xiaoye, we will sleep in the same bed tonight, said Yu Menghe when she saw that it was getting dark. She was smiling and caressing Xiaoye's head. All right, Auntie, said Xiaoye, nodding like a good child. She then left with Yu Menghe. Lin Hai continued looking at his carving. In the middle of the bamboo forest, Lin Feng and Meng Qing were lying together and hugging each other. Lin Feng was looking at her perfect body and smiling. After having made love so many times, Meng Qing felt extremely relaxed and happy. One could see it on her face. It actually felt a bit painful down there, but she was happy. She would never forget that day. She was hugging Lin Feng very tightly. His divine-looking face was different now that she had lost her virginity. Both of them remained silent. They didn't need to talk. They could feel what the other was thinking. Their souls were connected, in a perfectly calm and relaxed way. Then they both fell asleep. And both slept sound all night, forgetting everything else. Chapter 697, People from the Empire at dusk. Rays of sunlight were passing through the thick and dense forest of bamboo trees. At that moment, someone was sitting cross-legged on the ground. Lin Feng had his eyes closed and he was practicing cultivation. Behind Lin Feng, not so far away, was a beautiful woman. She was sitting on a bamboo rocking chair and was swinging slowly. She looked pure and holy with a resplendent smile on her face. Meng Qing's neck was filled with spring moon jade stones. Lin Feng had given them to her. Even though she didn't need so many, she was very happy to have them. Lin Feng was releasing a terrifying cold qi which had enveloped his body. His incredibly strong cosmos burning skill was burning around him. Surprisingly, a strong ice qi was still enveloping his body. Lin Feng moved his hands and a terrifying fire started burning and merging with the ice. Just like Lin Feng and Meng Qing had merged together when they had made love. Then, the ice slowly melted in that fire. After a long time, Lin Feng released a terrifying energy and absorbed all the fire. His qi had become stronger. Lin Feng opened his eyes and stood up. He turned around to look at Meng Qing and asked, "What's going on?" After having made love with Meng Qing, an ice pearl had appeared in his body. That ice pearl contained a terrifying ice energy. So he used it to practice cultivation. He could use it to transform his pure qi. It had increased his speed in condensing pure qi. When the pure qi couldn't become stronger than that, the ice pearl also become weaker. Lin Feng's body was very intriguing. Meng Qing smiled but did explain anything. Lin Feng didn't ask about it again, he just looked at her and said, "Let's go for a walk." "Alright, you have to see Xinyi," said Meng Qing. "When you weren't here, Xinyi came a few times to have fun with us. She misses you a lot and it seems she lost some weight too." Lin Feng smiled, he hadn't thought that Meng Qing would be so nice. She had seen Xinyi a few times and they had become close friends. If they were both good friends, Lin Feng would be happy. At the same time, in another corner of the imperial city, there was a huge group of people. The guards of the imperial city of Shuiyu were stupefied. They were just looking at those silhouettes riding terrifying, ferocious wild beasts. They all looked so scary that people shivered, some had even stumbled and almost fell when they saw those things. Very strong Xian-level beasts, thought some people when they saw those beasts getting closer and closer. Everybody in the imperial city was raising their heads and looking at that group of people. "What's going on?" thought the crowd, shivering. There were 10 terrifying Xian-level beasts blotting out the sky and covering up the earth. "We need to inform someone," thought the shaking crowd. "No need," said someone else. Immediately after, a strong wind blew over them that nearly knocked them all down. Those black silhouettes in the sky were becoming more and more distinct. They didn't need to inform anyone because everyone could see them already. A few people in black changpaos suddenly rose up in the air and encircled the city. "We are the Imperial Dragon Guards. Who are you and why did you come to Shuiyu?" asked a person. That voice was incredible. The crowd was looking at that person who was talking. The Imperial Dragon Guards were cultivators of the Xian Qi layer, they already considered as extremely strong cultivators in Shuiyu. They had become a mysterious sphere of influence in the country, but at that moment the Imperial Dragon Guards were feeling inferior. Those people who had come were much stronger than them. They were extremely nervous. "Don't worry, we won't be here for a long time. I am Ruolan Shan from Dragon Mountain. The Emperor of Dragon Mountain ordered me to come and grant someone the title of ruler of Shuiyu," said Ruolan Shan slowly. Behind Ruolan Shan a group of beautiful women took out some baskets, in which there were tulip petals. They then threw them around and the petals flew off in the wind, accompanying Ruolan Shan's words. That group of extremely strong cultivators were from Dragon Mountain. They had been sent by the Emperor of Dragon Mountain. Ruler of Shuiyu, the crowd at the bottom was astonished. Ruler. Someone was going to become ruler of Shuiyu. "Can I ask you who is going to become ruler of Shuiyu?" asked the Imperial Dragon Guard. His chest was bouncing back and forth. Those people from Dragon Mountain hadn't come to cause troubles. Instead, they had come to grant somebody the title of ruler of Shuiyu. How incredible. The ruler of Shuiyu would then have the same power as the king of Shuiyu. A genius from Shuiyu who dazzled at the great competition of Shuiyu and had finished first. It is an honor for our empire, therefore, he is going to become the ruler of Shuiyu, said Ruolan Shan smiling. The crowd was stunned. A genius from Shuiyu had finished first at the great competition of Shuiyu? They were all stunned. They had already thought that being the strongest person of Shuiyu and being able to participate at the great competition of Shuiyu was exceptional. They had even thought that finishing in the top 10 was incredible and an honor for their country. But finishing first was absolutely amazing, they couldn't believe it. Surprisingly, someone from Shuiyu had finished first at the competition. Who? The Crown Prince Duan Wudao, asked some people in the crowd. Their heads were spinning. There were 13 countries in Shuiyu and Shuiyu was such a tiny little country. Under the jurisdiction of an empire. Surprisingly, someone from their country had won and was the champion of the competition. How was that possible? They couldn't believe it. But the ambassador from Dragon Mountain only smiled and kept flying amongst the tulip petals in the sky. That thing was real, it was a miracle for Shuiyu. The news spread in the city very quickly, everybody suddenly knew about it. A genius from Shuiyu was the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu. The ambassador from Dragon Mountain had even come to grant that champion the title of ruler of Shuiyu. We're going to inform the Imperial City family, please wait a moment, said two of the Imperial Dragon Guards. They were very surprised. They glanced at each other and then moved back towards the Imperial Palace. If someone from Shuiyu had won the great competition of Shuiyu, it would have to be Duan Wudao, the Crown Prince. They were, of course, not going to prevent those people from coming into the city anymore. The Crown Prince was definitely going to become the ruler of Shuiyu. Being the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu was really an incredible thing. The tulip petals kept flying in the air. Ruolan Shan and the others slowed down and moved towards the Imperial Palace. They weren't moving so fast as if they had wanted to show to everybody that they were there. They wanted everybody to know that Lin Feng was going to become the ruler of Shuiyu. People were following and looking at the crowd in the sky. How could they miss such an incredible thing? It was a miracle in the history of Shuiyu. Duan Wudao had won the great competition of Shuiyu and was going to become the ruler of Shuiyu. At that moment, they didn't know that the new ruler of Shuiyu wasn't going to be Duan Wudao and instead, it was Lin Feng, who was in the lovesickness forest with his parents. Lin Feng also didn't know that those people from Dragon Mountain had come. Chapter 698, Ruler. The tulip petals kept flying in the wind and an incredible quantity of petals had already began to pile on the ground of the city. The people from Dragon Mountain then stopped outside of the highest building of the Imperial Palace and landed on a huge field. People from the Imperial Palace who were in the distance looked solemn and respectful. Those people from Dragon Mountain looked imposing and domineering. They were all wondering what was happening when the people from Dragon Mountain had stopped. They mustn't be enemies who were going to attack. Tulip petals kept flying in the wind. I am the ambassador from Dragon Mountain to Shuiyu. I am Ruolan Shan. The emperor has sent us here to grant someone the title of ruler of Shuiyu. We would to inform the king of Shuiyu, said Ruolan Shan, looking at those people from the Imperial Palace. In a flash, a loud voice spread in the air that could be heard everywhere in the palace. People from Dragon Mountain had come to grant someone the title of ruler of Shuiyu. The people who were inside the Imperial Palace of Shuiyu were all astonished. Someone was going to become the ruler of Shuiyu. Of course, some people had already heard the news. The champion of the great competition of Shuiyu was going to become the ruler of Shuiyu. People were getting agitated in the Imperial Palace. Many were coming out and looking at those people outside on the field and in the air. At the same time, people from the Imperial City were also rushing over to the palace and gathering there. Many people had thought that Duan Wudao won the competition and was going to become the ruler of Shuiyu. They wanted to see that important event in the history of Shuiyu. Besides, the Crown Prince was extremely strong. With him Shuiyu would become an incredibly strong country. After a short while, two silhouettes appeared in the distance. Behind them was a group of people who all had spears in their hands, their eyes were twinkling with sharp lights. Their chi was also extremely powerful. Duan Wuya, the second prince. The crowd could recognize Duan Wuya. Then, they also recognized the other person next to him, it was the king of Shuiyu. Huh? The crowd was a bit surprised when they saw a middle-aged man wearing a gray chang pao. He didn't look like the king of Shuiyu, his skin was as white as that of a woman and he looked effeminate. It was as if they had never seen the king before. Was it really him? According to the rumors, the king of Shuiyu was always hiding and had never made inquiries about the country he reigned over. Duan Wudao and Duan Wuya were in charge of managing the country. It seemed like this time, everything was true. However, in people's hearts the true king was still the one who had astonished the entire country 20 years before, Duan Renhuang. A short moment after, the middle-aged man in the gray Chang Pao and Duan Wuya arrived in front of Ruolan Shan. Ruolan Shan and the middle-aged man in gray clothes smiled back at each other respectfully. Ruolan Shan, ambassador from Dragon Mountain, you came from so far. I had to greet you in person in fear of being impolite. I came here to grant someone with the title of ruler of Shuiyu. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared come and disturb the king, said Ruolan Shan politely. This time I had to ask for the king's audience. All right, said the king nodding. Who is going to become the ruler of Shuiyu? Doesn't he know the answer? Wondered the crowd looking back at the king of Shuiyu. He was the king, didn't he know the result of the great competition of Shuiyu? From his smile, he had to be Duan Renhuang. First, I would like to congratulate Shuiyu. You gave birth to two incredible geniuses who finished first and second at the great competition of Shuiyu. Dragon Mountain is proud of them, said Ruolan Shan. He then waved and many people took out some goods and put them in front of the king. Those are presents for Shuiyu, I hope you like them. Duan Wuya unpacked the presents as the crowd got over their surprise from before, when Ruolan Shan had said two geniuses from Shuiyu had finished both first and second at the great competition of Shuiyu. Duan Wudao was the champion. And who was the second one? Could it be the second high official Yu Tianming? But Yu Tianming wasn't strong enough to finish second at the competition. First, I would like to congratulate Duan Wudao for having finished second at the great competition of Shuiyu. He was astonishing, said Ruolan Shan. The crowd was stunned again. They were wrong, they had all thought that Duan Wudao had finished first. Duan Wudao had finished second, but who was stronger than him in Shuiyu? The crowd couldn't believe what they had just heard. Then, I would like to congratulate another incredible genius from Shuiyu. He is not even 20 yet and he astonished everybody up until the very end, and then he finished first. He is the very champion of the great competition of Shuiyu. He is extremely strong and he is the glory of our empire of Shuiyu. Dragon Mountain would like to grant him the title of ruler of Shuiyu and his name is Lin Feng, said Ruolan Shan. People thought that their brains were going to explode. They slowly remembered Lin Feng, whose image appeared in their head again. Lin Feng. Lin Feng had won. They obviously all knew Lin Feng, everybody in Shuiyu knew him. They could still remember all the times he had shown his strength. However, the crowd had never thought that as young as he would become the champion of the competition. They had never thought that he would become the most astonishing cultivator in Shuiyu. Duan Wudao had finished second, which meant that Lin Feng had defeated Duan Wudao. Lin Feng was really monstrously strong. Your Highness, do you know where Lin Feng is? Let's go and find him together, said Ruolan Shan smiling. The crowd was becoming clear-headed again. All right. Lin Feng must be in the lovesickness forest, let's go together, said the king. No need, said a voice. People looked in the direction where the voice had come from and saw a young man in the sky. He looked clean and outstanding. He looked more and more brilliant each time they saw him. His eyes were deep and profound. His chi had changed from before. Lin Feng had changed a lot, it seemed. Lin Feng had come out of the lovesickness forest because he wanted to go and see Duan Xin Yi. He hadn't thought that he would run into Ruolan Shan. Lin Feng, very good, you're here, said Ruolan Shan smiling. Lin Feng, the emperor asked me to come. Now I would like to confer you the title of ruler of Shuiyu in front of everybody, including the king of Shuiyu. You now have the same power as the king of Shuiyu. Ruolan Shan then waved his hand and a group of people moved towards Lin Feng. Everybody was looking at him with respect. Lin Feng had a status which was as powerful as that of the king. Congratulations, Lin Feng, said the king smiling at Lin Feng. He looked free and unrestrained. It didn't seem to bother him to have someone with the same power as him in Shuiyu. Lin Feng nodded back at him. He didn't look scared or respectful. He wasn't a young man from the imperial palace. After Shingong, after having seen the cultivators of the Tianqi layer from the East Sea Dragon Palace, the Nine Cloud Sword Sect, the Jade Heaven Imperial Family and the Necropolis, Lin Feng didn't feel anything particular facing the king of Shuiyu. Besides, he was now as powerful as the king. Lin Feng was the new ruler of Shuiyu along with the king. Thank you. Since the king is here, I would like to say that I would like to get married with Princess Xinyi, with whom I love. I hope that you will accept. Lin Feng had become the ruler of Shuiyu and was proposing a marriage alliance with the princess, asking the king for her hand in front of everybody else. The king and Lin Feng looked at each other. It seemed like some sharp qi was colliding in the air. Chapter 699, Acceptance. Everybody remained silent. They watched Lin Feng and the king stare down each other. They didn't know what to think. Back then, Lin Feng had astonished them under the moonlight of the Xiangjiang lake. Now, he was facing the king who was as powerful as him. He was now the ruler of Shuiyu. Duan Wuya was on the king's side. Back then he had said to Lin Feng that in order to get married with Duan Xinyi, he had to finish in the top 9. And then in the future, he had to defeat Duan Wu Dao. Only then he would accept. However, now Lin Feng had already accomplished all those things and had even finished first at the great competition of Shuiyu. He had come back to Shuiyu as a glorious hero and had become the ruler of Shuiyu. If Lin Feng wanted to get married with Duan Xinyi, who could refuse? Duan Wuya had no reason to do so either. Lin Feng hadn't even glanced at Duan Wuya. Since the beginning, he knew how Duan Wuya was and now he didn't care about him anymore. He had become the ruler of Shuiyu and Duan Wuya was the second prince. Lin Feng's status was higher than that of Duan Wuya, so did he need to look at him? Humph. At that moment, someone groaned coldly and a person in a grey Chang Pao appeared. That person was coldly staring at Lin Feng. It was Shi Huan, one of the Imperial Dragon Guards, and he was Shi Qiong's father. Lin Feng had already seen him in the past. He had tried to kill Lin Feng in the past, but Lin Feng was becoming stronger. You tiny little insect, do you think that you've become a phoenix? You are no match for Xinyi. She's a princess, said Shi Huan in an extremely cold way. He looked evil. Lin Feng had become the ruler of Shuiyu, how abominable. Lin Feng slowly turned around and looked at Shi Huan. His eyes were twinkling with sharp lights, as sharp as swords. Shi Huan had the feeling that he was being stabbed. What do you want? Shut your filthy mouth now. I am the ruler of Shuiyu now, how dare you gesticulate in front of me? Do you want to die? Said Lin Feng extremely aggressively. In a flash, he released a terrifying sword energy which enveloped Shi Huan's body. Shi Huan's face turned deathly pale, he was sweating cold beads and could barely breathe. How dare you, shouted Shi Huan furiously. He hadn't thought that Lin Feng would be so brutal and violent. Besides, he was realizing that Lin Feng was the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu and that he had become monstrously strong. In his memories, Lin Feng was still weak. Die! Lin Feng ignored him and shouted furiously. A terrifying, die, word appeared in the air, a terrifying sword energy emerged at the same time and lacerated the atmosphere. The sword energy then turned into a terrifying sword. Shi Qiong looked deathly pale, his face contained no blood anymore. Would Lin Feng kill him? Crrr, the massive amount of sword energy crashed onto his body. He was so much weaker than Lin Feng. Lin Feng could kill him from kilometers away. Could Shi Huan compete with him? Shi Huan couldn't even resist. Lin Feng didn't even need to move his hands to kill him. In a flash, Shi Huan was dead. The sword chi disappeared and Lin Feng moved back to his initial position. He looked calm and serene as if nothing had happened. The crowd was astonished and their hearts were pounding at full speed. Lin Feng had become so scary. Becoming the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu wasn't easy. Lin Feng had become 100 times stronger than before the competition. Lin Feng had become the ruler of Shuiyu, an officer of the Imperial Snow Dragon Guards couldn't rival with him anymore. Shi Huan had overestimated himself. Lin Feng considered as an insect but he died with a breath of effort. The king and Duan Wuya looked emotionless. Shi Huan had died and they didn't care at all, in fact, they actually hadn't cared. They didn't control the Imperial Snow Dragon Guards. Duan Wuya had always dreamt of becoming their leader but had never managed to do so. Then the king of Shuiyu smiled at Lin Feng in a resplendent way and said, Lin Feng, now you are the ruler of Shuiyu, you can of course marry Xinyi. Just choose a date for the wedding. Wuya will help organize everything. I hope that you will take care of Xinyi, said the king. The crowd was speechless. The king had accepted. Xinyi and Lin Feng were going to be married. Of course, if one person could get married with Duan Xinyi, it had to be Lin Feng. He was the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu, everybody knew him. And he was the ruler of Shuiyu. If Lin Feng couldn't get married with the princess, who could? The crowd thought that the king accepted only because of Lin Feng's new social status though, ruler of Shuiyu. They had the same power in the country now. In any case, the king hadn't thought about it too much, he immediately accepted Lin Feng's request. Shi Huan had died for nothing, he had just courted death and Lin Feng had helped him achieve his aim. Thank you, said Lin Feng bowing in front of the king. The king would become Lin Feng's father-in-law, he had to be polite to him. Hee, congratulations Lin Feng. You came back as a hero and you are now the ruler of Shuiyu. Now you will get married with a beautiful woman. Ruolan Shan will definitely come to the wedding for a few drinks, said Ruolan Shan smiling merrily. He had already seen how close Duan Xinyi and Lin Feng were. A girl as beautiful as the stars and a peerless genius. They were a perfect couple. Thank you, I will happily welcome you to my wedding, said Lin Feng smiling at Ruolan Shan. Alright, Lin Feng, your highness, my mission in Shuiyu is over. I have to go back to Dragon Mountain, I would like the king of Shuiyu to help me with one more thing though. Make a public announcement to declare Lin Feng's new title of ruler of Shuiyu, said Ruolan Shan. Everybody had to know about it. If the king did it himself then Ruolan Shan could be relieved. No need to remind me of that, this is obvious. The entire country will know about it. At the same time, I will also prepare his wedding with my daughter. It will be a big ceremony, said the king calmly smiling. The crowd slightly nodded, the king didn't mind that Lin Feng had become the ruler of Shuiyu. Duan Wudao had finished second at the great competition of Shuiyu. Lin Feng had finished as the most outstanding cultivator of Shuiyu and of Shuiyu. Everybody had to know. We talked too much, your highness, Lin Feng, I'm leaving, said Ruolan Shan waving. Immediately after, the people from Dragon Mountain all left. The tulip petals kept flying in the wind. After Ruolan Shan left, the king slowly turned and looked to Lin Feng while smiling. Lin Feng, you are the ruler of Shuiyu now, the imperial palace is yours to share. Alright, Duan Wuya, and you can talk about the future now. You shouldn't need me anymore, said the king smiling, he then turned around and left. Duan Wuya looked at Lin Feng in a calm and serene way. He looked at Lin Feng with a smile on his face but people didn't know what he was thinking. Lin Feng, I also would like to congratulate you. You are the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu and defeated my brother. You met all my requirements, think about a wedding date now, said Duan Wuya slowly and calmly. He even sounded a bit gentle or soft. It seemed like the problems which had arisen before the competition had never happened because he wasn't aggressive anymore. I will talk to her and we will decide together, said Lin Feng nodding. He then jumped forwards and left. He didn't look at Duan Wuya anymore, it seemed like he didn't feel like talking to him. Duan Wuya looked at him with a resplendent smile on his face, but nobody knew how he really felt. People were also pensive around him, but then the crowd dispersed. People didn't understand all those plots and intrigues happening in imperial families. Chapter 700, Public Announcement. Deep in a forest, Indiana, the imperial palace, opposite a waterfall, there was a beautiful woman next to a river. In front of her was a painting, it was a man's portrait. There were many colors and the style was refined and elegant. Water was flowing next to her, but all she was focusing on was the portrait she was painting. She was painting the man she loved. She was using her heart to paint. Princess, said someone at that moment, she was surprised to hear someone interrupting her. Duan Xinyi stopped painting, her brush shook as she made some messy strokes. Duan Xinyi frowned and turned her head around. Xiao Xian, why are you bothering me? Princess, I have some good news, said Xiao Xian with a resplendent smile on her face. What news? Asked Duan Xinyi a bit surprised. She didn't like being disturbed while painting. What was Xiao Xian talking about? Lin Feng is back. He just arrived and has proposed a marriage alliance, said Xiao Xian proudly. Duan Xinyi was so surprised that she dropped her painting brush. Lin Feng had come back and had asked her father for her hand. Did he reply? Asked Duan Xinyi a bit anxious. He did and he accepted. Master Lin Feng defeated Duan Wu Dao at the great competition of Shuiyu and he finished first. He has now become the ruler of Shuiyu, that title was conferred to him by the Dragon Mountain Empire. He has came back a hero. Duan Xinyi's heart was pounding furiously. Lin Feng had defeated Duan Wu Dao and was the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu. He had also become the ruler of Shuiyu. All of that was great news. Duan Xinyi was speechless. Where is Lin Feng? Asked Duan Xinyi suddenly. She looked delighted. I just heard the news so I rushed over to tell you these things. I think he should arrive at any moment now, said Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian hadn't even finished talking when Duan Xinyi was already running away. Her Chong Sam was fluttering in the wind. A silhouette appeared in front of her making her stop. She was so happy to see that person, it was the man she had been painting so many times over. He had come back. And to her great surprise, her father had accepted their alliance. She smiled magnificently when she saw him. Lin Feng looked mature and mysterious. Duan Xinyi lowered her head, her face had turned red. She wanted to control herself, but in the end tears appeared in her eyes and started flowing down her cheeks. Duan Xinyi used her sleeves to wipe off the tears, she lowered her head and smiled. She wanted to make herself beautiful but unfortunately she had started crying. Lin Feng slowly walked forwards and arrived next to Duan Xinyi. She slowly raised her head still wiping off her tears with her sleeves. Silly girl, if you want to cry then just cry, said Lin Feng, stretching his hands out and hugging Duan Xinyi. Then she was crying and crying. Duan Xinyi tightly hugged Lin Feng, she felt warm. She was hugging him so tightly, it seemed like she was scared that he would leave her. Even though Lin Feng had finished as the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu, nobody had been able to predict what was going to happen there. Duan Xinyi had been scared the whole time, she had thought that Lin Feng might die there. She had missed him so much but she had also been terrified. She didn't like it when Lin Feng was away. She had had so many nightmares and had only been able to comfort herself alone and try to convince herself that Lin Feng would come back safe and sound. Now, he had come back and was right in front of her. Behind them was Xiao Xian smiling in a sweet way. She left them in silence without drawing their attention. She was happy for the princess. Lin Feng remained calm and serene, he didn't say anything. He just let her cry as much as she wanted. Lin Feng, in the future you must bring me with you if you go somewhere, said Duan Xianyi staring at Lin Feng. She wanted to stay by Lin Feng's side all the time. She felt like she had a stone in her heart when Lin Feng gone. She felt like she was suffocating each time. Even if the situation was dangerous, she wanted to be with Lin Feng. Okay, said Lin Feng, wiping off her tears with his hand. She looked so sad, how could Lin Feng refuse her request? She smiled again when she heard Lin Feng. She wiped off her tears with her sleeve again, looking so cute. Let's go to the lovesickness forest. Alright, said Duan Xianyi nodding like a good girl. Immediately after, Lin Feng rose up in the air and flew towards the lovesickness forest. Nobody could stop them in the imperial palace. Lin Feng was the ruler of Shuiyu now and the king had even agreed to it. Lin Feng was the most powerful man in the country. Shi Huan had died opposing him, who else dared to argue him? Lin Feng and Duan Xianyi had left very quickly. Lin Feng's life was usually calm and tranquil, but now it wasn't. He had come back to Shuiyu as a hero, he was the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu and had been conferred the title of ruler of Shuiyu. The king had announced that news himself to the people. Yangzhou City now had a certain reputation since Lin Feng had been entitled as the ruler of Shuiyu. It had become an even stronger city. Some extremely strong cultivators were now going to Yangzhou City to live there. Great opportunities would surely present themselves there in the future. There were so many extremely great skills and techniques, foreigners were traveling there more frequently. Yangzhou City was becoming a large city. Besides, at that moment in the sky above Yangzhou City, many silhouettes had appeared. They were riding ferocious wild beasts of the Xian level. Everybody in Yangzhou City was terrified and panic-stricken. Who were those strong cultivators and why had they come to Yangzhou City? Some golden papers were falling from the sky. The ferocious wild beasts were dropping those golden papers which floated in the wind. The sky of Yangzhou City was dazzling as they left. The crowd looked at the ferocious wild beasts leaving. A strong cultivator then rose up in the air and grabbed some of the golden papers. The Qi Xie Marquis has come back and he is now the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu. He has come back to Shuiyu as a hero. Now, he is the ruler of Shuiyu. Besides, he is going to get married with Princess Duan Xianyi. Many people were reading the words on those golden papers, some strong cultivators were shaking. Lin Feng had won the great competition of Shuiyu. And had come back as a hero. Now he had been conferred the title of ruler of Shuiyu by the Emperor of Dragon Mountain. And was going to get married with the Princess Duan Xianyi. People were astonished, some people slowly turned around and looked in the direction of the government building. Now, the leader of the city had become the ruler of the country. The castle which served as the government building would be a holy place in the future, another imperial palace. People in Yangzhou City were reading the golden papers one after the other. They were all shaking. The champion of the great competition of Shuiyu was their leader, Lin Feng. And on top of that he came from Yangzhou City himself. Lin Feng. The crowd looked so proud. Lin Feng. Some other people looked at the golden papers and sighed. How moving. Lin Feng from the Lin clan. This time, he hadn't astonished Yangzhou City but he the entire country and even the entire region. They were all very proud because Lin Feng came from Yangzhou City. Chapter 701, Getting Prepared for Revenge. Meng He, Lin Hai, Meng Qing, Xianyi and Xiaoye were all waiting to the lovesickness forest. They were all talking and sounding excited, everybody looked happy. Meng Qing didn't look cold like when she had first met Lin Feng. She was smiling, looking carefree. They were trying to pick a date for the wedding. Lin Feng was famous in Shuiyu and he was going to get married with an incredibly beautiful woman. Everybody was extremely happy. Lin Hai and Yu Menghe had the feeling that they were young again. In the past, they were sad and bitter as if they were aging. But now they were both happy every day together. What about half a month, suggested Yu Menghe. No, said Meng Qing, shaking her head. Yu Menghe was surprised. Why not? What do you suggest, Meng Qing? It's unlucky to have it on the day of the sun, said Meng Qing. Yu Menghe smiled and said, Meng Qing, we are cultivators so we don't believe in luck. You and Xinyi will both belong to Lin Feng, why couldn't it happen on the day of the sun? When Meng Qing was surprised when she heard Yu Menghe. She shook her head again and said, it is Xinyi's wedding, not mine. I am not going to participate. Meng Qing, said Duan Xinyi while holding Meng Qing's hand. She smiled in a pure and innocent way and said, you knew Lin Feng before me. You were supposed to be his main wife. How could I get married to Lin Feng before you, and in front of your own eyes? Everybody agrees. We will get married with him at the same time. But it's not the way you normally would do it, said Meng Qing, looking at Xinyi. Her heart was beating faster. She had never thought about getting married before. Who needs to do it like everyone else, said Lin Hai, shaking his head. He frowned and said, in our world, there is only one principle, strength. Lin Feng is the champion of the great competition of Shuiyu and the ruler of Shuiyu, nobody can offend him and nobody will dare criticize him. Lin Hai had experience and knew what the cultivation world was like. Lin Feng could get married with two incredibly beautiful women and nobody would say a thing. People simply considered him as the most dazzling young cultivator of Shuiyu. Meng Qing looked at them, they were all looking at her. She knew that they all liked her so she felt warm in her heart. Does Lin Feng know about this too? Asked Meng Qing. Actually, she desired to become Lin Feng's wife more than anything in the world. Meng Qing, you know Lin Feng. In the past, he didn't want me because he only wanted to be with you, but then he couldn't refuse me anymore, said Duan Xinyi, holding Meng Qing's hand even more firmly. She was still smiling in a pure and unadulterated way. Indeed, Lin Feng couldn't refuse Duan Xinyi. He. Alright, Meng Qing, say yes. Many beautiful women like Lin Feng outside. If you refuse, it will be too late, said Xiaoya giggling. Meng Qing and Duan Xinyi both glared at Xiaoya. Xiaoya covered her mouth and ran away giggling, she had offended the girls. She added, don't worry about me, just call me if you need help. Lin Feng didn't know when the wedding was going to happen. His parents were taking care of it. At that moment, he was in the territory which formerly belonged to the holy courtyard of Shuiyu, but now was the Yunhai sect. Relying on a perfect magic formation, the qi of the earth and the sky was extremely dense there. The Yunhai sect was expanding very quickly, especially since Lin Feng had been conferred the title of ruler of Shuiyu. Many people were coming because they wanted to join the sect that Lin Feng ruled. According to the rumors, Lin Feng's strength was already terrifying. In the entire country of Shuiyu, few people could fight against him. Duan Wudao couldn't even compete with him anymore. Soon, Lin Feng would break through to the Tian Qi layer, so everybody was enthusiastic about joining his sect. However, becoming a member of the Yunhai sect wasn't easy. One had to show that they were strong or had natural abilities. They also had to go through a test and show that they would be loyal. If it wasn't for this, the flood of people would all be accepted. People of the Yunhai sect were now strong cultivators, they were proud to be members of that sect. This time, Lin Feng was standing at the top of a tower in the middle of a cultivation field at the Yunhai sect. Behind him was Ren Qing Kuang, Lei Qing Tian and some other former officers. Now, they had all broken through to the Xian-Qi layer and were standing behind Lin Feng. They had a feeling that there was a lot of pressure. They had never thought that Lin Feng would become so strong. There were many people on the cultivation field, they were all dazzling cultivators. They were looking back at Lin Feng, he was so young and so strong. He was their officer and he was standing at the top of that tower, they couldn't believe their eyes. Lin Feng was a miracle. They all progressed, not bad, said Lin Feng looking at that group of people. Now, the Yunhai sect was very strong. There wasn't such pressure to improve. What about the troops you chose? Asked Lin Feng. In 1 year, 30 will break through to the Xian-Qi layer. In 2 years, 100 will break through to the Xian-Qi layer, replied Ren Qingquang. Lin Feng shook his head and said, too slow, in 1 month I want all of them to break through to the Xian-Qi layer. You also have to break through to the next cultivation layer. Only then can the Yunhai sect be ready for any trouble. 3 months is already too difficult, said Ren Qingquan, shaking his head. It was impossible to become so strong in such a short time. Mr. Hua and Mr. Qi will make some pills to help all of you. We cannot get so many pills in such a short time though. We need so many ingredients, said Ren Qingquan surprised. Had Lin Feng prepared everything already? Very quickly, we will have everything ready. Now, prepare some troops because we're going into battle, said Lin Feng, sounding like he had prepared everything. Battle? Ren Qingquang was surprised. What did Lin Feng want to do? Indeed, we're going to attack the Wanshou sect and the Yu clan. We will obtain some herbs, specks of grass and other goods which we could keep or exchange. Then the Wanshou sect and the Yu clan will become ours, said Lin Feng. Ren Qingquang and the others started shaking when they heard that. The Wanshou sect, the Yu clan, theirs? It seemed like Lin Feng was going to entirely transform Shuiyu. How many people? Asked Ren Qingquang. Everybody, the most dazzling cultivators will then also have the opportunity to become stronger, said Lin Feng calmly. He wanted to do something incredible before his wedding anyway. In the past the Wanshou sect and the Yu clan had always wanted to kill him, they had schemed against him before the great competition of Shuiyu. He survived only because Xiaoye and her grandfather had saved him. Lin Feng was ready to get his revenge now. The Wanshou sect and the Yu clan were going to be his stepping stones to make the Yunhai sect rise in the country. All right. Let's go, agreed Ren Qingquang. He then left to execute the orders. Uncle Feng, Lei Feng, go and help Mr. Qi and Mr. Hua, said Lin Feng to Feng Yuhan and Lei Qingtian. The two of them then nodded and their silhouettes flickered. Lin Feng gazed into the distance, in the direction of the Wanshou sect and the Yu clan. His eyes looked as sharp as swords. Chapter 702, The End of an Era. That day was going to be a bloodbath. The sound of the horses' hoofs clopping was a war drum, the armored horses were galloping towards the Yu clan. Those are people from the Yunhai sect. Some people in the imperial city saw Lin Feng's army. They looked desolate and sad. What did the Yunhai sect want to do? There was a ferocious, wild beast flying above that looked red like fire. And on that beast there was somebody, Lin Feng. The winged tiger had become Lin Feng's emblem in Shuiyu. Lin Feng wasn't fair when you saw that winged tiger appeared. Lin Feng had come out of the Yunhai sect, why? Back then, Lin Feng had brought some troops to annihilate the Haoyu sect and the Ice and Snow Mountain village as well as the holy courtyard of Shuiyu. His troops weren't troops anymore, they were much stronger. Lin Feng had also become much stronger, he had become the ruler of the country. He could annihilate any sphere of influence with ease. The Yu clan and the Wanshou sect. The crowd was shaking when they thought about those two names. Lin Feng hated them, and everybody in the imperial city knew that. Now, Lin Feng had come back to Shuiyu as a hero. He would never let them off. The Yu clan and the Wanshou sect were going to be exterminated. It is the end of an era, thought the crowd. There used to be lots of spheres of influence in Shuiyu. First, Duan Tianlang had destroyed the Yunhai sect and had brought other sects to help him out. Meanwhile, the smallest spheres of influence in the country had always been under pressure. However, Lin Feng had risen up then. He had first brought his Qi Xia troops to destroy the Haoyu sect and the Ice and Snow Mountain village, which were spheres of influence outside of the imperial city of Shuiyu. A bloodbath had started and a hero had risen. In such a short time, nobody had been able to stop him or prevent him from becoming stronger. However, after the battle some opportunities had appeared for other groups. Shuiyu was witnessing the beginning of a new era. Without the Yu clan and the Wan Shou sect in the imperial city, there would be more space for other spheres of influence. Nobody knew what would happen then. Would there be a civil war or something like that? Anyways, some chaos was always occurred in the history of any country. Lin Feng had gone to the imperial city in the past and had changed the history of the imperial city. The Yunhai sect had one main goal, the Yu clan. The Yu clan knew what was going to happen and they were all panic-stricken. Everybody had gathered in the main hall of the clan. It seemed like Yu Lu Shui had become their last resort. Yu Lu Shui didn't know what he could standing there in the main hall of the Yu clan. He had seen Lin Feng during the great competition of Shuiyu and knew how strong he was. He also knew that Lin Feng was so strong that the Yu clan couldn't defeat him. After having gone back to Shuiyu, Yu Lu Shui hadn't thought of taking the core disciples of the clan and leaving with them. He hadn't thought of trying to escape from Lin Feng. How could they escape? The two most incredible cultivators of the Yu clan had been killed by Lin Feng in the evil area during the great competition of Shuiyu. How could Yu Lu Shui escape? There was no hope. He could only hope that someone would help him face Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng had come back to Shuiyu as the champion of the competition and the new ruler of Shuiyu. Who could oppose him? Boom boom boom. A terrifying energy spread in the air. The entire Yu clan was even more panic-stricken. Immediately after, the Yu clan was surrounded. Lin Feng had arrived on his winged tiger and he had landed on the palace where Yu Lu Shui was. Without emitting any sound, Lin Feng used his sword to crush the palace. This caused a few silhouettes to come out, including Yu Lu Shui, head of the Yu clan. Lin Feng shouted at Yu Lu Shui. Yu Lu Shui was defeated. Lin Feng had come to kill him. He couldn't hide anymore. You threatened me many times, you tried to kill me many times. You spread words of unceasing hatred during the great competition of Shuiyu. You wanted to kill me and now I am here, will you try? Said Lin Feng, sounding arrogant. Yu Lu Shui was terrified. Could he kill Lin Feng? Since you're not attacking, I will attack, said Lin Feng indifferently. His infinite quantity of sword energy then emitted whistling sounds in the atmosphere and his sword began twinkling. There were only sword lights in the atmosphere. All the people of the Yu clan were shaking as they watched Lin Feng. They looked desperate, there was no chance to win. Lin Feng had already progressed so much. Die, shouted Lin Feng furiously. Some terrifying lights rolled in the air like waves. Some strong cultivators released their pure qi, but it was useless. Lin Feng's sword lights lacerated everything. In a flash, everybody had died. Everybody from kilometers around had all died. Lin Feng's sword could kill people over such a huge distance. They're dead. Lin Feng had just said the word, die. And then many people from the Yu clan had suddenly died. They were all cultivators above the 5th Xian Qi layer. None of them had managed to escape. They didn't even the time to emit horrible shrieks, they had died in the blink of an eye. Yu Lu Shui closed his eyes, he hated Lin Feng. He had offended a death god. He had never thought that such a day would happen. The Yu clan didn't participate at the destruction of the Yunhai sect, so today I will be merciful. I will not destroy your clan. The weakest ones, children, women and old people can leave. I'll give you 5 minutes to leave. After that, the Yu clan will not exist anymore, said Lin Feng indifferently. In his hand had appeared a sword which looked extremely powerful. Yu Lu Shui was standing there, but he didn't try to do anything. Resisting was useless. Lin Feng was being merciful, so there was some hope. At least Lin Feng wasn't going to slaughter them like he had done in the past. There was a silver lining. The weakest ones, children, old people and women, hurry up and leave, shouted Yu Lu Shui furiously. In a flash, Lin Feng's sword light descended from the sky, and then Yu Lu Shui, the head of the Yu clan, eminent personality in Shuiyu, had died. The winged tiger roared furiously, and in a flash a bright red light, like fire, streaked across the sky. The winged tiger had immediately left. The Wan Shou sect was very far from the Yu clan. They were also all panic-stricken when they heard that Lin Feng was going to come and slaughter them. The strongest cultivators of the sect had even prepared to leave. All the cultivators of the Xianqi layer of the Wan Shou sect rose up in the air about to leave. They didn't care about the sect anymore. They had seen Lin Feng at the great competition of Shuiyu and knew how terrifyingly strong he was. If they didn't leave, they would die. Everybody stop moving, shouted a voice on the horizon. That voice rolled in the air. Those who were already in the air immediately got nervous, then a sword light descended from the sky. Their hearts were pounding, and in a flash they died. In a flash, they had all died. Anyone who dares make half a step will die, said a voice which resonated in every corner of the Yunhai sect. People raised their heads and saw a young man who looked astonishing. He was so young and had dazzled at the great competition of Shuiyu. Now, he was the ruler of Shuiyu. He alone could annihilate an entire country already. It did not matter how many people there were facing such a powerful cultivator, they couldn't do anything. Haven't you heard me? Asked Lin Feng, looking into the distance with his sharp eyes. Someone was still trying to escape, but then Lin Feng's sword light descended from the sky and killed that person. Nobody had even been able to see that sword clearly. Roar roar. The ferocious wild beasts of the Wan Shou sect started running and roaring. They were furious and terrified at the same time. People remained silent, absolutely silent. Teng Wu Yao, come out, said Lin Feng. Immediately after, Teng Wu Yao appeared in the sky staring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at Teng Wu Yao. Surprisingly, Teng Wu Yao, who usually looked furiously, suddenly smiled in a particularly strange way. Teng Wu Yao, in the past you tried to steal the well of pure qi I found in the mountains of the 9 swords. You and your people wanted to kill me. That is how we started hating each other. Back then I was only a tiny little insect in your eyes, now things have changed, said Lin Feng, whose words were like needles in Teng Wu Yao's heart. Back then, it had seemed like an insignificant event for Teng Wu Yao at the well of pure qi, but now. Chapter 703, Back to the 9 Dragons Mountain Chain. Now the Wan Shou sect was going to disappear because of that small event. Everything was happening because the Wan Shou sect had gotten angry with Lin Feng for taking few purity stones. What a ridiculous situation, but unfortunately it was truly happening. If Teng Wu Yao could go back in time, he would let Lin Feng go. But everything that had happened could not be changed. We all have choices, and sometimes those choices are not the right ones. Let's fight, said Teng Wu Yao. He then released a terrifying bestial qi and his spirit. It was a beast spirit which looked particularly evil and gloomy. All right, die, said Lin Feng while releasing a terrifying sword intent. That sword intent invaded the entire atmosphere. The hearts of the people from the Wan Shou sect were pounding violently. That sword seemed like it could destroy everything. Die, shouted Lin Feng furiously. His sword energy shot out towards Teng Wu Yao. The sword qi condensed and turned into a beam of light, leaving a gigantic trail in the sky. Roar. Teng Wu Yao roared like a beast. His entire body was surrounded by a bestial qi as a gigantic black hand appeared in the sky. It was a gigantic panda hand filled with an incredible physical strength. It was going to block the sword energy. Srrr. Srrr. The sword chi immediately cut through the gigantic panda hand and continued moving towards Teng Wuyao. Suddenly, a pair of wings appeared from his back and he rose up in the air incredibly quickly. Patriarch of the Yunhai sect, against all expectations, you're a good cultivator, said Lin Feng, jumping forwards. He then stretched his hand and condensed some sword chi in his hand, which then turned into a gigantic sword. Die, shouted Lin Feng furiously. He had released his level 5 sword intent, that sword light was exterminating everything its way. Teng Wuyao's wings were clapping at full speed but it was too late, one arm which was bound with a wing was cut off. Teng Wuyao roared violently while releasing more bestial chi, however, another sword arrived and cut off his other arm. Blood was gushing everything. Every member of the Wan Shou sect was staring at their patriarch getting slaughtered, their eyes were bloodshot. Their patriarch was being crushed by Lin Feng, and he had already lost 2 arms. Kill him, said someone at that moment. Suddenly, many people were attacking Lin Feng. Die, shouted Lin Feng in the sky coldly. In a flash, another sword light appeared and all those who had gotten close to him had died. Lin Feng jumped forwards and arrived near Teng Wuyao. Then he released his 9-dragon celestial fang spirit which possessed 8 heads and were chanting the Song of Dragons. There were 8 heads but one of them was a shaman head, it was the shaman spirit he had swallowed in the past. I like that spirit, said Lin Feng jumping towards Teng Wuyao again. The 8 dragon heads descended and immediately swallowed Teng Wuyao's spirit. In one bite, they had swallowed it entirely. Teng Wuyao emitted a horrible shriek, his spirit had been swallowed. Then another sword light descended from the sky. Teng Wuyao was shaking violently, from the middle of his eyebrows to lower part of his body appeared a sword mark. The people of the Wan Shou sect couldn't believe their eyes as they saw Teng Wuyao's body fall down from the sky. The patriarch of the Wan Shou sect was dead. The 9-dragon celestial fang spirit then roared violently, it looked extremely cruel and ferocious. The pupils of the shaman spirit also looked more distinct, more real. It had swallowed Teng Wuyao's spirit and had merged with it. Lin Feng glared at the crowd on the ground, he then jumped forwards and landed on a Xian-level beast. The shaman spirit head stared at that beast and suddenly that beast became docile. Lin Feng could domesticate ferocious wild beasts easily now thanks to the shaman spirit, including Xian-level beasts. All the members of the Wan Shou sect saw how easy it was for Lin Feng to domesticate Xian-level beasts. However, they were surprised when they saw how easily Lin Feng had managed to swallow their patriarch's spirit. People of the Wan Shou sect didn't resist when they saw that, nobody was trying to escape anymore either. Lin Feng's consciousness was too terrifying, he could sense every single movement within the territory of the Wan Shou sect. If anybody tried to escape, Lin Feng's sword light would lacerate them. Boom 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 boom. The ground started shaking and some rumbling sounds spread in the air. Some people were coming from the air and their chi was deadly. Those people were from the Yunhai sect and they had come to annihilate the Wan Shou sect. Lin Feng's sword light invaded the entire atmosphere and crushed all the cultivators who were of the 5th Xian Qi layer and above. After that, Lin Feng had no time to lose anymore and immediately left. Destroy the Wan Shou sect, said Lin Feng. The people of the Yunhai sect heard Lin Feng's order. Back in the day, the Wan Shou sect had participated in the destruction of the Yunhai sect. Now, Lin Feng was getting his revenge. A tooth for a tooth, he was going to destroy the Yunhai sect as well. Lin Feng left with the winged tiger, a moment before he had obtained a few ferocious wild beasts but he left most of them there with the people of the Yunhai sect. Then Lin Feng disappeared into the horizon, as if nothing had happened. He didn't need to stay there, the rest was left in the capable hands of the Yunhai sect. Many adventurers from Shuiyu liked to go to the 9 Dragons mountain chain. Some people liked to hunt while some others liked to search for herbs and grass. At that moment, some whistling sounds were spreading in the air above the mountain chain. Some people raised their heads and saw a red silhouette, like fire. They all started shaking. How brave! Someone surprisingly dared fly like that in the sky above the mountain chain. Wasn't that person afraid of encountering Xian-level beasts? The ferocious wild beasts of the 9 Dragons mountain chain were terrifying. Few people dared to act that recklessly, it was too dangerous. The fire-red silhouette in the sky was obviously the winged tiger, and Lin Feng was on its back. The winged tiger nosedived into the depths of the mountain chain without stopping. There weren't any strong ferocious wild beasts in the periphery of the mountain chain, but Lin Feng needed some extremely strong ones. He wanted to bring some to his sect, and at the same time he would be able to use them for his wedding ceremony. How majestic would that be? The winged tiger was traveling at full speed. Lin Feng sensing the surroundings for ferocious wild beasts. A firebird. Go, said Lin Feng, jumping in the air. The winged tiger obviously understood what Lin Feng meant. He roared and opened his gigantic mouth, blood splashed as the winged tiger swallowed the firebird. The fire on Qi Qiong's body suddenly became much more intense and powerful. Lin Feng was satisfied and nodded. The winged tiger was an ancient ferocious animal. Ferocious wild beasts of the same level as him couldn't resist at all. Qi Qiong could kill them in a flash. The winged tiger then moved back to Lin Feng and they continued moving forwards. Wait, said Lin Feng suddenly. In the distance he had noticed a gigantic black ape, its body was like a monolith. It seemed to be as hard as steel, almost indestructible. A stone ape, said Lin Feng smiling. That stone ape was a level 7 Xian beast. Its body was really incredible, solid, like a gigantic tower. That ape was staring at Lin Feng, it had noticed Lin Feng as well. Stone ape, do you want to come with me? Asked Lin Feng. Eeeargh, the stone ape roared when he heard Lin Feng, it roared so violently that the entire atmosphere started shaking. Lin Feng wanted it to become his slave, how abominable, what a detestable human being. Chapter 704, Gathering ferocious wild beasts. In a gigantic library in a building of the Imperial Palace of Shuiyu, there were some people sitting and talking. The leader of those people was wearing a golden crown. That person looked like the king, however, it wasn't the king that people had seen last time. That person wasn't the king but was wearing the golden imperial crown. What an offense! That was defying human and divine laws. There wasn't a single guard outside of the library, nobody dared come closer as if it had been a forbidden area. It also meant that nobody dared make a remark to that person about the imperial crown. Nobody wanted to offend that person. The other people sitting around that person were all incredible. If Lei Mang had been there, he would have recognized De Shu Kong and Yu Mo's teacher. They were all incredible cultivators of the Tian Qi layer. As expected, in order to sit down with people of the Tian Qi layer, one had to be of the Tian Qi layer as well. The one wearing the imperial crown was a cultivator of the Tian Qi layer, but in Shuiyu it seemed like cultivators of the Tian Qi layer didn't exist. If there was someone of the Tian Qi layer in the imperial palace wearing an imperial crown, there was only one explanation. It had to be Duan Ren Huang, one of the 4 most outstanding cultivators of the country 20 years before. At that moment, Duan Ren Huang, De Shu Kong and the Yu Mo's teacher were talking together. Your Majesty, He Sha wants to see you, said someone outside the room at that moment. He Sha was one of the officers of the Snow Dragon Imperial Guards. The Snow Dragon Imperial Guards were loyal to Duan Ren Huang, His Majesty. In Shuiyu there was a king, but Duan Ren Huang, even though he wasn't the king, was also considered a king. Everybody called him His Majesty. Only extremely strong cultivators could make decisions. Duan Ren Huang could thus control everything in the country of Shuiyu. It was possible to say that he was the authentic king. Come in, said Duan Ren Huang. A moment later, He Sha came in and bowed very low in front of Duan Ren Huang. He didn't look him in the eyes when he said, Your Majesty. What do you want? Asked Duan Renhuang, sounding imposing. He Sha raised his head and looked at the other people. He was surprised. You can speak here, said Duan Renhuang when he saw that He Sha didn't feel like talking in front of the others. Understood, Your Majesty, said He Sha while nodding. Your Majesty, Duan Wudao is on his way back to the country. When he's back, tell him to come and see me, said Duan Renhuang, nodding indifferently. But He Sha didn't seem finished with just that. Duan Renhuang looked surprised and said, talk if you have to add anything. Your Majesty, Duan Wudao is coming back with some people of the Jade Heaven Imperial family, said He Sha, lowering his head. Duan Renhuang was surprised. At the same time, De Shu Kong and Yu Mo's teacher were surprised as well. Some extremely strong cultivators from Jade Heaven were coming to Shuiyu. Duan Renhuang rolled up his sleeves and immediately stood up. Then he said, come with me, we're going to greet the strong cultivators from Jade Heaven. De Shu Kong and the others also stood up. Duan Renhuang was careful, people from Jade Heaven were so strong that he had to greet them personally. If they got angry they could destroy the entire country of Shuiyu without much effort. In the Nine Dragons mountain chain, the stone ape was still roaring furiously, but Lin Feng looked expressionless. He just screamed, enough. A terrifying sound wave spread in the air, it was as sharp as a sword as it crashed onto the ape's body. Lin Feng was extremely far from the animal, but his voice could still harm it. The stone ape was roaring furiously but finally stopped. Lin Feng said coldly while fixedly staring at the animal, submit yourself. Roar. A deep roar emerged out of the ape's mouth. Immediately after, the ape started running at Lin Feng, causing the ground to shake. It lifted its hands to grab Lin Feng and crush him. If you don't submit yourself I will test how strong your defense is, said Lin Feng indifferently. He then condensed a gigantic sword in his hand. Rumbling sounds were still spreading in the air, Lin Feng's soul was shaking but he looked as expressionless as before. A terrifying sword chi had spread in the air and then the sword fell down. Kacha! Some crackling sound started spreading in the air and then the sound stopped abruptly. The stone ape was speechless as it lowered its head and saw a sword mark on its abdomen, there was blood. Lin Feng was a bit surprised, he hadn't thought that the stone ape was that strong. Lin Feng had broken through to the 8th Xian Qi layer and had used level 1 sword intent. He required so much strength just to harm the stone ape, most other animals would have died after such an attack. I haven't used my full strength yet. You have to submit yourself or you will die, said Lin Feng coldly. At the same time, his dragon spirit started roaring. From his back appeared his 9-dragon celestial fang spirit. The stone ape was astonished. That spirit was a dragon spirit. Initially, I could make you submit yourself with my spirit, but I just wanted to be nice to you, said Lin Feng, as coldly as before. His shaman spirit then began staring at the stone ape with its gigantic pupils. The stone ape's eyes couldn't evade that shaman spirit. Unsurprisingly, Lin Feng managed to make the stone ape submit itself. Just like he had said, he was able to make it submit itself very quickly without any effort, but he wanted the stone ape to fear him, so he had used his sword first. People had to be extremely strict to animals to make them respect them. Go to the periphery of the 9 Dragons mountain chain and wait for me there, I need some other animals, said Lin Feng to the stone ape. Immediately after, he moved forwards the depths of the mountain chain. Rumbling sounds were spreading in the air. The stone ape immediately started running towards the edge of the mountain chain. It also met some humans which were scared to death seeing it. People were terrified, what was such a strong ferocious wild beast doing at the periphery of the 9 Swords mountain chain? Was that a beast flood? However, the crowd at the periphery of the mountain started shaking. A slayer tiger, a cyan-winged clouded leopard, a celestial eyes snake, an 8-leg violent bull. All of those animals had appeared at the edge of the mountain chain. People were going insane with fear, all those beasts were at least level 5 Xian beasts. People didn't dare approach the mountain chain anymore. Sometimes the beasts would glance at those people and scared them even more. Is it a beast flood? Thought the adventurers. More beasts were still arriving, some by sky and some on the ground. They were all extremely strong. All the weakest beasts of the 9 Dragons mountain chain were escaping and running far away when they sensed the monstrous chi of all those beasts. They didn't dare get close. What astonished people the most was that all of those beasts were gathering together. They weren't fighting against each others, they were just calmly waiting together. Then some whistling sounds spread in the air, causing people to raise their heads. They saw a silhouette in the sky and it was a human being on the back of a fire-red ferocious wild beast. That person flew to that gathering of ferocious wild beasts. The crowd started shaking violently. Could it be that? They were finally thinking about a possibility. It was a winged tiger, so the young man on its back had to be Lin Feng. Chapter 705, Astonishing. In fact, it was precisely what people had guessed. That young man on his winged tiger was Lin Feng and he had joined the group of ferocious wild beasts. Some of the beasts couldn't fly so they had to walk. They were all lowering their heads and followed the heroic young man. Some were emitting subtle sounds, like docile pets. Human beings could barely believe such a thing. The scene looked incredible. Such a monstrous group of ferocious wild beasts, all extremely strong, led by such a young man was incredible. Even if those beasts were lowering their heads, their chi was still monstrous and enough to scare people from miles away. Lin Feng had gone to the 9 Dragons mountain chain to hunt and had surprisingly captured lots of Xian-level beasts. They were all terrifying. Only a genius could do such a thing. If a strong ferocious wild beast of the 9 Dragons mountain chain had appeared in the cities of Xueyu, or even outside of the mountain chain, it would have been enough to scare everybody away and cause mass panic. And on Lin Feng's side there was also a winged tiger which had bloodshot eyes and it looked extremely ferocious. "Let's go," said Lin Feng. Immediately after, Lin Feng and the beasts started walking forwards. The other ferocious wild beasts were following him closely. He then disappeared from the mountain chain and arrived on open fields. Some people fell down on the ground, they had no strength and were too nervous. They were covered with sweat and shivering violently. They knew that only one of those beasts could kill them all. But such terrifying beasts as Xian-level beasts had submitted themselves to Lin Feng. What was Lin Feng doing? Many people were shaking. Lin Feng could destroy Xueyu with so many strong beasts. The ground was shaking in Xueyu. However, it wasn't because Lin Feng was walking with so many ferocious wild beasts, it was because the Yunhai sect was exterminating the Yu clan. Apart from old people, women, children and extremely weak people, all the others were killed. In one day, they had all died, the Yu clan had disappeared from Xueyu. Just like the Yu clan, the Wanshou sect was destroyed as well. However, the fate of the Wanshou sect was even more tragic than that of the Yu clan because none of them had been left alive. Every single member of the Wanshou sect died. Yu Lushui, former head of the Yu clan, and Ting Wuyao, former patriarch of the Wanshou sect, used to be considered as influential people in Xueyu, but Lin Feng had killed them. Lin Feng wasn't even 20 years old but he had won the great competition of Xueyu and had been conferred the title of ruler of Xueyu. After the destruction of the Yu clan and the Wanshou sect, some people who belonged to smaller spheres of influence had gone to the imperial city where the Yu clan and the Wanshou sect were. They were hoping to steal things but they were disappointed to find that all the buildings were empty. The Yunhai sect had stolen everything already. The Yunhai sect was incredibly powerful, they had made the Yu clan and the Wanshou sect crumble to ashes. People were convinced that the Yunhai sect would rise to the very top of the country, it was only a matter of time. The Wanshou sect and the Yu clan were destroyed by the Yunhai sect. "Have you already heard? Nothing is left of them," said someone in a restaurant of the imperial city. However, it seemed like everybody was talking about the same thing in that restaurant. Everybody was only talking about Lin Feng. In such a short time, Lin Feng had astonished the entire country. Lin Feng had surprised the country so many times that it seemed like the country had changed with Lin Feng's rise. Every era had its own geniuses. This time, it wouldn't be an exception. It was Lin Feng's era. He was monstrously strong. Even Duan Wudao, the crown prince, was under pressure. Of course I know, because the news is already old. I knew it would happen before it today anyways. The Wanshou sect and the Yu clan used to hate Lin Feng and had even tried to kill him a few times. If Lin Feng hadn't had his parents and good friends, he would have died a long time ago. Now he has become strong enough to get his revenge, replied someone. Everybody was nodding. They all liked Lin Feng though. He used to be weak and now he was strong. They admired him. They all hoped to become like him, to become strong. If someday they could rise and become as strong as him, they would be able to get their revenge on people. They would be able to kill anyone they wanted. They would have no more pressure and their hearts wouldn't feel as heavy. Hee, Lin Feng killed all his enemies, said someone smiling merrily. Boom! At that moment, the ground started shaking. It seemed like the restaurant was going to break. Huh! People were scared and looked outside the restaurant. What was going? Boom, boom, boom. Some rumbling sounds kept spreading in the air. Some animals were galloping at full speed. Some cracks started appearing on the walls of the restaurant. The glasses and bowls were also shaking on the table. What's going on? Asked some people as they stood up. They were all looking at the tables terrified. It seemed like the restaurant was about to collapse. Kacha! Those terrifying sounds made people's hearts shake. They raised their heads and saw some more cracks on the ceiling on the restaurant. Their hearts were beating faster and faster. It seemed like an earthquake. Go, let's go, said people one after the other. They ran outside but had suddenly stopped. It seemed like thunders were attacking them. Boom, boom, boom. Crevices kept appearing in the ground. Their hearts were bouncing back and forth. What was happening? In front of them was a gigantic stone ape. It was more than 3 meters high. It was violently trampling on the ground, taking giant strides. Each of his steps were a few dozen meters and the ground would crack under its feet. Its chi and force were terrifying. He could easily kill anyone in his way. Even more terrifying was behind that stone ape. There was a snake that was as long as 20 meters and it was sticking out its tongue. There were wild beasts everywhere. The rest of the world seemed to fade in comparison with that scene. There were even beasts in the sky flying. People's hearts were pounding vigorously. Lin Feng. Finally, the crowd noticed a red beast, red like fire. It was a winged tiger, and on its back there was a young man. It had to be Lin Feng. Boom! The crowd ran away when the stone ape and as more beasts arrived in front of the restaurant. They were terrified. They were not the only ones. Everybody was reacting the same way. The people of the imperial city couldn't believe their eyes. That scene would remain with them for a very long time. They would never forget it. They had already seen those ferocious wild beasts but never in such a large group. It was terrifying. That monstrous group of ferocious wild beasts were all being controlled by such a young man as Lin Feng. Those ferocious wild beasts were moving very quickly. Soon they had all arrived in the Yunhai sect. The members of the Yunhai sect were all shaking. With all those beasts, the Yunhai sect would become one of the most powerful spheres of influence in the country. Apart from the Imperial City clan, nobody could rival with them. Chapter 706, Underground Current. Duan Wuya was in the Imperial City sitting on a redwood chair and had a pen in his hand as if he had been writing something. Your Highness, said someone at that moment while bowing but hadn't entered the room. The second prince looked calm, indifferent and serene, but Nan Shan, as the assistant of the second prince, knew that Duan Wuya wasn't the same person as before. He had changed and had become extremely influential, but he still had a nice and friendly smile on his face. Nan Shan, said Duan Wuya, nodding. He smiled gently Wei and said, "What brings you here?" "Tell me." "All right," said Nan Shan respectfully. He walked forwards and entered the palace. He was walking carefully. "Nan Shan, tell me," said Duan Wuya when he saw that Nan Shan was remaining silent. "Your Highness," Duan Wu Dao came back with some strong cultivators of Jade Heaven. Duan Ren Huang, a strong cultivator of the Deshu family, and several others went to greet him personally, said Nan Shan slowly. Duan Wuya lowered his head a little, his eyes were twinkling. Duan Wu Dao had come back. "Besides, Lin Feng's wedding is planned for half a month from now," said Nan Shan. Duan Wuya was smiling indifferently. "Half a month later, he knows how to choose dates," said Duan Wuya with a particularly evil expression on his face. "Let's execute the plan earlier then." "Roger, Your Highness," said Nan Shan, nodding. He slowly walked backwards without turning around. He then bowed in front of Duan Wuya again. Only after leaving the palace did he turn back around. Nan Shan had changed from before. He was smart and knew what he had to do to adapt to different situations. After Nan Shan left, Duan Wuya smiled in an evil way for a long time. Then he said, "Father, you privileged my big brother, you chose him and not me. You think that he is stronger than me. I will show you that you are wrong." Duan Wu Dao had been chosen, but Duan Wuya was furious that it hadn't been him. Duan Ren Huang hadn't chosen Duan Wuya. Duan Ren Huang's choice was extremely important in Duan Wu Dao and Duan Wuya's lives, and was going to influence their destinies. One was extremely aggressive and violent while one was suffering silently but firmly resolved to get his revenge. Lin Feng went back to the Yunhai sect and organized some things. He then consulted Mr. Hua and Mr. Qi in an alchemy room. Before exterminating the Yu clan and the Wanshou sect, Lin Feng had already told Mr. Qi and Mr. Hua what he intended to do. He had told them to concoct 500 Xian level pills of middle quality to help the cultivators of the Ling Qi layer break through to the Xian Qi layer, especially those who had already broken through to the very top of the Ling Qi layer. For the latter, the probability of breaking through to the Xian Qi layer was going to be higher. Of course, those pills were difficult to concoct and the ingredients were extremely precious. After annihilating the Yu clan and the Wanshou sect, Mr. Hua and Mr. Qi had already gathered the ingredients. Some ingredients had been too difficult to gather in the wild, so they had gone to shops to buy them, but that still wasn't enough. Lin Feng had gone to the Nine Dragons mountain chain, and apart from domesticating some ferocious wild beasts, he had collected some rare Xian branches to concoct pills. It would have been too difficult if Lin Feng had tried to find those rare branches by himself. However, amongst the beasts he had domesticated, some were able to find those branches easily. All the ingredients were there in the alchemy room. "Mr. Hua, Mr. Qi, ready?" asked Lin Feng. He then created a terrifying fire. In a flash, the liquid in the heavenly dragon ancient cauldron was bathed in a sea of flames. Sounds were emerging from out of the ancient dragon cauldron. It was the chant of the dragons. How intriguing. "Move," said Lin Feng. Mr. Qi and Mr. Hua then put some ingredients inside the cauldron and those three men together started to concoct pills. Lin Feng was the main actor while Mr. Qi and Mr. Hua were assisting him. They were progressively putting ingredients inside the cauldron. A pleasant fragrance invaded the atmosphere of the room. Mr. Qi and Mr. Hua were relaxed, they were attentive to Lin Feng. They still had the impression that their honor was being affected. Lin Feng's fire had exceeded all their expectations. Lin Feng's soul was extremely strong, he could control so many things with it. Lin Feng was incredibly smart. The two old men looked at each other smiling. They had made a right decision back when they had joined Lin Feng. He was progressing extremely fast. In the future, he would be even stronger. He already had the strength to make an entire elite army break through to the Xian Qi layer. In the future, he would be able to help them become stronger again. At the same time, they were impatient to see what Lin Feng's future would be like. Back in the Celestial River, Lin Feng used to be a tiny cultivator. Back then Lin Feng's future was unsure, they weren't certain that Lin Feng would become strong. Concocting Xian-level pills was successful. Even though Lin Feng had never tried to concoct such pills, with his strong and powerful soul and his fire, coupled with the alchemical memories of the Zun cultivator, Lin Feng had managed to concoct the pills with the first try. Besides, no pill had been wasted. There were 500 pills in the cauldron. Mr. Qi and Mr. Huo were astonished. After concocting the pills, Lin Feng left alone and silently. He had left the pills to them. Lin Feng still wanted to concoct some other pills, the divine water pills. But he still wasn't sure that he could manage to concoct them. Lin Feng went back to the Lovesickness Forest to talk about the wedding, then he went to the Celestial Academy No. 1. Lin Feng had spent so much time at the Celestial Academy No. 1. He was grateful now, but he wasn't the Lin Feng he used to be in the past. He knew who was hiding behind the Celestial Academy No. 1, which made him feel more indifferent about it. Lin Feng is here, said some people who had recognized him. However, Lin Feng looked expressionless as he walked into the territory of the Celestial Academy No. 1. He arrived in the peach orchard, a place where he had been so many times before. There was still a sweet fragrance and a beautiful melody. Lin Feng had arrived in front of the pavilion and sat down. Some leaves and peach petals were floating in the wind around him. Lin Feng closed his eyes and calmly listened to the melody Yan Yuping Sheng was playing. After a long time, the melody stopped and Yan Yuping Sheng opened his eyes slowly. He saw Lin Feng stand up and bow in front of him, "Teacher." Yan Yuping Sheng shook his head smiling and said, "Lin Feng, you have become stronger than me. How can you still call me teacher? You are my teacher, I am your student. Strength has nothing to do with that, you helped me grow up, so you are my real teacher." "How could I forget you because I became stronger?" asked Lin Feng, shaking his head. Yan Yuping Sheng smiled in a gentle and warm way. "Teacher, I hope you can come to my wedding, I will be getting married with Xin Yi," said Lin Feng, looking delighted, handing over an invitation letter. "Teacher, it is my honor." Lin Feng then slowly turned around. There was no need to beg with such an incredible student. Chapter 707, Danger in Duanren City. The country of Xueyu dispatched people everywhere to tell the entire country that Lin Feng had become the ruler of Xueyu, and that he was going to get married with Princess Duan Xin Yi. Many people were arriving in the imperial city every day. They all wanted to see the majestic wedding of the ruler of Xueyu. That would be such a festive celebration. The hotels and restaurants of the imperial city were packed full of people. There were even more people now than with the National Genius Competition before the Great Competition of Xueyu. Those who had seen how dazzling Lin Feng had been at the Xiangjiang Lake had come back to the imperial city. They all wanted to see how strong Lin Feng had become. Those who had missed the national competition didn't want to miss Lin Feng's performance this time, so they had all come. The wedding of a monarch or a ruler wasn't necessarily something really attractive for most people, but Lin Feng had astonished the entire country and had ranked first at the great competition of Xueyu. Then he had been conferred the title of ruler of Xueyu. For many people, that was incredible. Many worshipped and admired Lin Feng, many were longing to become friends with Lin Feng and reach the clouds with him. There were many people outside the imperial city. They all wanted to go into the city, but very few wanted to come out. Iya. In the distance was an armored horse galloping at full speed. The person on that horse was wearing a red armor, red like blood. That person penetrated into the city at full speed like a hurricane. "Stop!" shouted someone furiously, trying to prevent that person from entering. "Fuck off!" shouted the knight, his spear turned into a blood-red light and immediately crashed into the guard's throat. The cavalier didn't turn his head around as entered the city, not caring about the guard. "It's a military member from Duanren City," thought the crowd stupefied when they saw that person. What was happening? Why was he rushing into the imperial city? That Qixia armored horse didn't stop and immediately galloped towards the lovesickness forest. Obviously that person was looking for Lin Feng. Lin Feng, said that person still on his horseback. He then entered the lovesickness forest but was ambushed by some silhouettes. They were white-clothed women were shouting at him coldly, "Stop!" Their sleeves fluttered as they blocked the Qixia horse. A terrifying force immobilized the Qixia armored horse. Boom! A terrifying attack crashed onto that person's body, causing him to collapse. His head was bleeding. He looked terrified as he said, "I'm looking for Lin Feng." "What is happening?" "Speak," said a woman in white clothes. Her tone of speech was still ice cold. "Mou and Lai Yun are killing our Shuayu troops. A huge war has started. Duanren City is surrounded and it is a matter of life and death. The danger is imminent. A few hundred thousands of troops could die any time. I want to see Lin Feng." That person was speaking very quickly, ignoring his wounds. "What are you saying?" said a voice rolling in the air. Two people with bronze masks then appeared in front of him. Han Man immediately grabbed him and asked, "Are you serious?" "It is a real war, how could I joke about it?" shouted that person furiously. Han Man was shaking. He then let go of that person, turned around and went to look for Lin Feng. But Lin Feng was already coming to them. "Lin Feng, brother, Duanren City is in danger," said Han Man while gnashing his teeth. "How shameless, Umo and Lai Yun dared attack Shuayu together." Lin Feng looked expressionless as he walked towards that person. He raised his head and looked at Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, Master, Duanren City is in danger." "Did you immediately come from Duanren City?" asked Lin Feng. "Indeed," replied that person nodding. "Why didn't you look for the Shuayu troops first?" asked Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, Master, the danger in Duanren City is imminent. The troops could die at any moment, you have to save them," said that person, falling down onto his knees and begging Lin Feng. He didn't reply to Lin Feng's question though. "Shut the fuck up," shouted Lin Feng furiously. Han Man was astonished. What was Lin Feng doing? "When did Mou and Lai Yun attack?" asked Lin Feng extremely loudly. That person's brain was shaking. He raised his head and looked at Lin Feng. 7 days ago. During the chaos of the war, I immediately left and came to look for you." "Ridiculous. 7 days ago, you rushed over to the imperial city, but how did you know that I had come back to Shuayu?" asked Lin Feng coldly. That person was shaking. "Lin Feng, Master, you became the ruler of Shuayu. Everybody knows that already. Even then, after you left the war, how did you know I was in the lovesickness forest?" asked Lin Feng furiously again. "Huh?" Han Man and Pajun were stupefied. Indeed, Han Man and Pajun hadn't thought about that. Besides, with your cultivation of the Ling Qi layer 7 days wouldn't have been enough to come here from Duanren City. Even though you are soaked in blood you don't look tired or injured at all. "Do you think that I'm stupid?" shouted Lin Feng furiously. He then added, "Who sent you here? What is your purpose?" That person was astonished as he stared at Lin Feng. What a terrifying young man. That person then wiped the blood off his face and slowly stood up. "You can believe me or not," said that person. Then a dagger appeared on that person's heart. Lin Feng wasn't ready. That person was smiling in a strange and evil way as he collapsed. Lin Feng couldn't explain why that person had been so calm and why he had killed himself. The most terrifying thing about such people was their attitude towards death, not their strength. Someone who didn't fear death was terrifying. "Lin Feng, what should we do?" asked Han Man slowly walking towards Lin Feng. Han Man had a strange sensation, especially because of that person's evil smile. Han Man wasn't the only one that felt that way. Lin Feng had the same sensation. It seemed like something was happening. Go and find Uncle Ren. They are officers and probably know how to get Duan Ren news quickly. Check if what he said is true or not, but do so as quickly as possible, said Lin Feng. Han Man nodded and said, all right, let's go. Han Man then immediately left with Pajun. The Yunhai sect wasn't very far from the Lovesickness Forest. Han Man could go there very quickly. After the two of them left, Lin Feng frowned. The wedding date was approaching quickly. He had already planned to go to Duanren City after the wedding to see Uncle Lu, but he hadn't thought that something so strange would happen. Lin Feng hoped that nothing bad would happen in Duanren City, but Ren Qingquang and the others had stopped communication with Duanren City. Besides, it seemed like obtaining news from Duanren City would require at least one night. Lin Feng had planned to go there, but then a group of Qi Xie horses arrived in the Imperial City and they had gone to see Ren Qingquang at the Yunhai sect. They knew how terrible the situation was when Ren Qingquang and the others arrived. The leader was actually an officer of Duanren City. General Lin Feng, Officer Ren Qingquang, said the troops kneeling down. Their eyes were bloodshot and getting redder and redder. Stand up and tell me clearly what happened, said Lin Feng furiously. His voice made people's souls shake. They became clear-headed suddenly. Roger General, said the troops standing up. The one who seemed to be their leader said, Duanren City is about to collapse. Mou and Lai Yun have gone insane. Surprisingly, they attacked Duanren City together. In one night our guards in Duanren border all disappeared and the army abandoned it heading to Duanren City. Now, they have surrounded Duanren City, nobody can go out or in. We took a huge risk coming here. We had asked the government for help but they refused. They don't care about saving us, they don't care about the fact that Duanren City could disappear. Chapter 708. Extreme sadness. Lin Feng and the others were speechless as their hearts kept pounding. It really seemed like the situation was catastrophic for Duanren City. Lin Feng's eyes looked ice cold. Lin Feng had never counted on Xueyu for anything. Back then, Xueyu already only cared about themselves. A few hundreds of thousands of troops had died away from their hometowns because of Duan Tianlang. And on top of that Lutsang Lan had almost gotten killed. Lin Feng had hurried to save Lutsang Lan, but from that moment on, Lin Feng knew that the king of Xueyu was heartless. So many troops had died but nobody cared. Those who controlled the country treated people like toys. They were like animals and if they died, it didn't matter. Uncle Lu also knew that from the beginning to the end, he had always given his best to protect Duanren City. No matter what the situation was, he wanted to protect the country from foreign invaders. The soldiers of Xueyu had sacrificed their lives to protect their country, however, Xueyu had done nothing to protect them. They had treated those human beings as mere objects and had let them die in such tragic conditions. The one who killed himself was surprisingly telling the truth, thought Lin Feng. He didn't understand that person. Why had someone sent him to Lin Feng? Let's go to Duanren City, said Lin Feng, jumping forwards and began leaving. Lin Feng, said Ren Qingquang. It will be your wedding soon. Everybody knows about it, you can't go. I will go. Indeed, Lin Feng, you cannot go. Let us go, said Feng Yuhan. You're not going either. I'm going alone, I'm taking beasts and Qi Xie troops and that'll be enough. With the current strength of the Qi Xie troops and the Xian level pills we now have, we will easily be able to defeat those people from Mou and Lai Yun, said Ren Qingquang. Feng Yuhan could tell from Ren Qingquang's eyes that he understood what he meant. Duanren City had been surrounded, someone had sent someone to find Lin Feng. It seemed like someone wanted Lin Feng to leave the Imperial City. There were two possibilities. One was that someone wanted Lin Feng to go to Duanren City where it would be dangerous. The second one was that immediately after leaving the Imperial City, something dangerous could immediately happen. In any case, the situation was dangerous, so Lin Feng couldn't go anywhere. Ren Qingquang was worried, so he had prevented Feng Yuhan from coming with him. He wanted to go alone with some Qi Xie brothers. No, how could I not come? Asked Lei Qingtian. They were all fighting to go. Little Feng has come back with so many monstrously strong, ferocious wild beasts. I can fly with them and the Qi Xie troops can follow, that should be enough to fight. A few more people would be useless. Lin Feng's wedding is soon going to be happen, I can go alone, insisted Ren Qingquang. Feng Yutian and Lei Qingtian still wanted to talk, but Ren Qingquang looked at Lin Feng and said, Little Feng, you give your orders. We will obey your orders. Duanren City is waiting. Uncle Ren can go with the beasts, if there is something wrong tell the beasts to leave. Otherwise, Uncle Feng go with the Qi Xie troops on the ground and surround them, said Lin Feng. He knew that he had to hurry so he immediately gave the order. At the same time, he asked the beasts to gather around them. The situation was an emergency, there was no time for civilities. Ren Qingquang took some cultivators of the Xian Qi layer and jumped on some beasts. Then they all rose up in the air. Feng Yuhan had gathered a part of the Qi Xie troops and left with them. They were all galloping on the huge road at full speed. It was astonishing, people were wondering what was happening. Uncle Lei, you establish a system of special intelligence forces so that we can communicate with Uncle Ren, as well as with Uncle Feng. We need the news from Duanren City in most real time possible, said Lin Feng, after Ren Qingquang and Feng Yuhan left. Of course Lei Qingtian knew what he had to do. Lin Feng sighed, he hoped that everything was going to be fine. Even though he didn't feel like it, he continued preparing for the wedding. Meng Qing and Xianyi were still waiting for him, no matter what. In the old world, women were the most important things in your life, one couldn't be careless with them. Even though Lin Feng was extremely worried, time passed by slowly and he still hadn't managed to calm down. He had the feeling that anything could happen at any time. In the blink of an eye, there were only 5 days left before the wedding and there was no news from Duanren City. Lin Feng was sitting on a bamboo chair in the lovesickness forest. Meng Qing came towards him looking stunning, and sat down on Lin Feng's lap. Are you still worried about Duanren City? Asked Meng Qing. Lin Feng nodded and stretched his hands, his arms surrounded Meng Qing's waist. He suddenly felt a little bit warmer in his heart. Don't worry, nothing bad will happen, said Meng Qing, smiling in a gentle way and hugging Lin Feng. She then lied down on Lin Feng with her entire body resting on him. She was extremely attractive and seductive. Lin Feng didn't have any perverted thought with that beautiful woman so close to him. Besides, Meng Qing had to be right, nothing could happen. Lin Feng was definitely going to get married with Duan Xianyi and Meng Qing. That kind of person was extremely rare, she was always comforting and supporting him. She had always been on his side, silently. Lin Feng could still remember how incredible Meng Qing looked on that night under the moonlight when they had first met. He could still remember the first time they had ridden a horse together. It had felt like a honeymoon.